in 41 years to be on a space station, the first one in 41 years to be in space. 41 years back, he was on Mir, the Soviet space station. He's now on the International Space Station. This is a breathtaking moment for the entire country, certainly for the Indian space program. There is so much enthusiasm associated with that. Pallav Bagla, watching all of this. Pallav now has the habit of being in tears quite frequently.
No,
but I think
I'm very happy.
He is thrilled.
Absolutely
and
thrilled.
We are all thrilled at this. For Shubhanshu, who wasn't feeling all that great in the last couple of hours because of space sickness, but he's knocked that off and he seems to be doing quite fine. It's a 14-day mission. Remember, this is not where India's cosmic leap as far as this mission is concerned ends, because just getting back is not easy, and that's going to be another big adventure. But in the meantime, there's some fundamental science to be done. Shubhanshu Shukla will be a part of that entire process. All of this leads up to Gaganyaan, which is India's own crewed mission, Indian technology, Indian astronauts, Indian engines, Indian sensors, Indian navigation, everything, right? And that's all being tested out. 2028 is what we're looking at. But to get to that stage requires a lot in terms of engineering jumps. We are well underway. We've got our ambition, we've got our funding, and we've got the talent in India to be doing this. But this is something that we're going to be seeing on an Indian space, space station as well in the not too distant future. Let's say about 2035 or so. Pallav and I will be 35 and 25 years of age respectively at that stage. So we will be around. You can bet your bottom rupee that we'll be around. But joining us at this stage, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the American astrophysicist and writer. Mr. Tyson, thanks so much for being with us. We are
congratulations.
We are an emotional people, we Indians, and we get a bit emotional, sometimes too emotional. But it is a big moment. It's a moment of pride to see one of our countrymen up at the International Space Station. It's taken far too long. You know about our space ambitions. So could you reflect on what this means for a country with a developing space program?
Yeah, I can tell you without hesitation that an astronaut representing a country upon returning to is a hero. Just put it out there. They're a hero. People will line up to take photos with them, and it's the way I joke about it, and I say, no one has ever given a parade for a robot, okay? But we do it for people. When one of our own does something heroic, is on an adventure and comes back to talk about it, that's important. And so another way to think about this, we should all look forward to the day where this is no longer interesting because it's happening so often. And when you reach that point, then you can truly declare yourselves to be a spacefaring nation, where it's just, I got another mission going up this week. Cool. We'll find out when they get back, what they've been up to. And I want to say something quick about these images we've been seeing.
Yep.
I just want to remind you, everyone in that scene is weightless.
Yep.
So they could have had fun and had one of them completely upside down, alternating, and they would feel no different. So they all lined up just for the camera. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
There is no up or down when you are weightless in orbit around the Earth.
I think it's people around the world would have seen images and videos like this for so many years, and the quality of the video just keeps getting better. But I think, Mr. Tyson, the point which I'd like you to reflect on is the fact that there's nothing ordinary or easy or simple about human beings being in space, right? It is incredibly difficult. It was in the 60s and it is now.
Yeah, so I cannot overstate the fact that at the end of the day, yes, it is rocket science. And the number of scientists and engineers and administrators and way back in there, the funding streams, all of this has to work. And when it doesn't work, it puts lives at risk. And so, fortunately, we've had many steps tested and retested, which has reduced the risk, but the risk is not zero. And astronauts have died, not only on the launch pad, but in space. And so, yes, we should never take any of this for granted. And there's the saying that we say in the United States, maybe other countries say it too. We say Godspeed to the astronauts. And, the very word goodbye came from a time that's a contraction of God be with you when you left the city walls. And it was very dangerous moving between the cities. So you looked for divine protection where it was most dangerous. Well, when our first astronaut, John Glenn, was in space, 1962, the headline was Godspeed, John Glenn. A dangerous thing to be traveling that fast on an adventure hardly tested by anyone. And so, yes, this emotion is still with us when we see our astronaut heroes take these voyages.
Dr. Neil, this is Pallav Bagla from the NDTV office. Welcome to the broadcast. There were many Godspeed moments for this mission. While they were still on the ground, there were several delays. And when astronaut Peggy Whitson came into the International Space Station, she spoke about the long quarantine. We had several issues. And then as the mission was lifting up, we also had two anxious moments with the fiber in the hatch and then the wind file not uploading. What do you have to say for that? These were very anxious moments for this particular mission, and a 30-day quarantine? Is that the longest you ever heard of?
Maybe, but I mean, they're all professional. Remember that. So, and I'd rather, delay the mission than take the risk of not having it ever succeed. So we can be frustrated. What's the delay? Wait, fix the delay. No, take your time fixing the delay, because I don't want to raise the risk of harm that is already inherent in the entire operation. So yes, I think you were very close to this mission, and every little step. Every mission has little things that go wrong. Fortunately, much of the system, and thanks to engineers, have redundancies built in, so that if something goes wrong, there's a backup. Or if this goes wrong, we'll do without that for now, and maybe for the rest of the mission, we'll just compensate in other ways. So well-designed, risky missions will always have these backup scenarios, always in the interest of protecting human life.
Dr. Neil, in November, we complete 25 years of continuous human presence at the International Space Station. How exciting is that? And one more follow-up question for you. In 25 years, we've invested billions of dollars of taxpayer money on the International Space Station. Which is 1, 2, or 3 blockbuster research which has emerged from the space station?
Well, so I think the way you need to think about it, well, of the many ways to think about this, for me the most important is not listing the achievements or the scientific research and the results that come from it. You could do that, but I think there are other forces operating. For example, just the national pride of each country that has an astronaut represented on the space station. If I read correctly, each of the Polish astronaut, the Hungarian astronaut, and of course the Indian astronaut is their first time to the space station. And this is very important in the countries for which they are represented. And what I'm getting at is, that space exploration and launches and landings and space stations requires fluency in science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields. If you're a kid wanting to know what should I do when I grow up, and you see this happening in space, it is a force of inspiration that rivals a force of nature unto itself, driving interest in the STEM fields. And the STEM fields are the engines of the future growth economies of the world. So an impact can be measured by other ways beyond just a checklist of activities that have been conducted. You can try to measure the force it has on a culture and on civilization. And I'll tell you this as well, that it's the science, it's the STEM fields that stand the greatest chance of lifting a nation out of poverty. Because this is where economies are born. This is where high-tech industries, quality jobs arrive. And so, when I think of space, I see it as a force of inspiration, not as a checklist to see what did you accomplish today.
Dr. Neil, India has a program going up to 2040 for which the government has invested a huge amount of money, which is to land an Indian on the moon by 2040. So the roadmap is quite clear for India. For you, sitting from your perch, that India will soon have its own human space program, an Indian space station, and land an Indian on the moon, and be a developed country by 2047. Does that sound good and exciting to you?
It's always good to have the goals. When President Kennedy said, we will land a man on the moon before the decade is out, we felt that we said, we don't want to make a liar out of him. Let's go ahead and do this. And by the way, I want to add to what you said. So it's not just an Indian space station and an Indian landing on the moon. You hinted at it, but I want to drive home. Part of that goal is that it's completely top to bottom Indian-produced technologies. And so it's no longer a commercial venture from another country. It wouldn't be SpaceX or NASA. So you'd be doing it on your own, and that is another source of pride that I know we had when we were going into space, we, the United States. So I wish India well. I wish them luck. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck as well, but it's less luck and more brilliance in the scientists and engineers that are attempting to make that happen.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, wonderful speaking to you, and I agree entirely. It is Indian engineering at the end of the day, which really has to come of age. In many senses it has, but as you push the boundaries even further, there's a lot more to achieve, and I think we're really making a lot of progress there. I'm now joined by...
Yeah, and by the way, if I can quickly add...
Go right ahead.
Yeah. When India landed on the moon with the rover, and the headlines were, India becomes the 4th country to land on the moon. And I thought to myself, that's not the headline. You know what the headline was? India becomes the 1st country to land at the moon's south pole. We think there are reservoirs of water frozen in the bottoms of craters where the sunlight never reaches, because it's near the pole, the sun doesn't get very high in the sky, and so it's always shadowed from the crater rim. And so any water that fell there from comets has stayed there for billions of years. The future of colonies on the moon is going to be the South Pole. And to the extent that India targets that, they could lead the world, not just be a country that lands there, they might just lead the world in what kind of innovative exploration would be conducted there.
Dr. Tyson, it's interesting you mentioned that, because it was the Chandrayaan-3 mission that you're talking about, where we were able to land...
Yes, Chandrayaan-3.
But Chandrayaan-1 was really interesting because it detected the presence of water molecules. There were sensors from NASA and other countries as well, but it was an Indian spacecraft which actually detected the presence of water molecules to the extent that it triggered this huge international interest linked now to what you are saying. So, it's already there. And I think the next couple of years are going to be fantastic, because the Gaganyaan program, which Pallav and I are talking about, which is the crewed Indian mission, is actually really far down the road. In terms of rocketry, they've got the rocket. They are now working through various checks. They've already done a pad abort test. They're looking to do another abort test at a higher altitude. There is already something called
a robot,
Avyom Mitra. That's our a humanoid robot, which would be launched first as a trial on an uncrewed mission, and then of course we are working through habitation right now and habitable solutions for our own spacecraft, because we felt that the import of this technology wasn't necessarily A, cost effective, and B, it wasn't working for our needs. And that is a huge engineering challenge which we are working out now, crew habitation. But once that is fixed, the rest of it appears to have been coming along quite nicely. So 2028 is not an overly optimistic target. I suspect it will happen, and let's hope successfully. And so, there's a lot to talk about there, and we certainly look forward.
I'm very glad to hear.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to hear of these tests. One thing you have to prepare the public for is when you are doing something that you've never done before, there will be failures.
Yes.
Something's going to blow up on the launch pad. Okay, you hope there's no human involved. At worst case, it would be your robot, but not even the robot. You don't want the robot. People get attached to robots.
Yes.
So I just want to affirm that it still is rocket science, and there will be failures. And that's how you know you're on the frontier, because there's something, I had not considered that. Oh my gosh, I just made a discovery. And with the Artemis Accord, which India signed after Prime Minister Modi came through the United States and visited, I had the privilege of meeting him when he came through New York, and then he went on to Washington. They signed the Artemis Accord, which is it's an agreement that's signed by more than 100 countries now. Last I checked, I think it was if you make a discovery, you share the results so that everyone can benefit.
Yep.
And that way, any one country that makes advances, in a way, brings all countries with them.
Right.
And that level of participation, I think, is what we need. It's what we want going into space in the future.
All right. Look, it's so wonderful speaking to you, Dr. Tyson. You are such an inspiration for all of us, particularly space geeks like Pallav and me, who also happen to be journalists and primetime anchors, but wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much. We're joined by Dr. Tanya Harrison, a planetary scientist at the Outer Space Institute in Ottawa, Canada. Dr. Harrison, great to have you on board. Dr. Tyson was speaking about towards the end of our conversation was so important, the peaceful use of space. And India is now a signatory to the Artemis Accords, which means that we want space to be equal access, we want space to be free, we want it to be information sharing, data sharing, science sharing, and in a sense non-competitive. In terms of the future of space research, how should that be the way forward, in your opinion?
I think what you just said checks all the boxes. Scientists just want to collaborate with each other and better understand the moon, the evolution of our solar system, the evolution of the Earth-Moon system. So how did we end up the way we are now? And the cool thing about space is that we've often been able to collaborate with each other across international borders in a way that doesn't really happen on the ground. And so I think it's fantastic that we're trying to continue this tradition through programs like Artemis and the Artemis Accords. And it's amazing to see India come on board. Like you and Dr. Tyson were just talking about, India has made some incredible contributions to lunar science in the last decade plus, but also amazing contributions to Mars science. Mars is kind of my jam. And with the Mars Orbiter mission, you guys were just game-changing with some of the images that you managed to get back from that. So it's really amazing to see the number of countries that have access to space, that are sending astronauts to the space station, adding to the global scientific community. Like, it's all just a benefit at the end of the day.
Dr. Tanya, do you think we would soon be permanently inhabiting the moon?
I think so. The goal of the Artemis program is to send humans back to the moon to stay this time, not just flags and footprints. And so I think with Artemis 3, once we start actually putting infrastructure on the surface, it's just going to be baby steps there. But we've got India's plans to go to the moon. We have China's plans to go to the moon. I don't think it's going to be long before we start seeing permanent infrastructure and humans there to stay, just like we've seen for 25 years now on the space station.
Let me ask you this, and perhaps not the best day to be asking this because we are talking about crewed missions to the International Space Station, but the question is that there is this entire line of thought that crewed missions come with so many risks and so many expenses and so many additional technologies that perhaps robotic missions are a lot more cost effective and perhaps even a lot more effective in terms of deep space. How would you look at that entire argument?
mean, as someone that's worked on a lot of rovers and satellites, they are capable of amazing things, but they are not as capable as a human brain. The stuff that we can do with a rover on a place like the moon or Mars is like 1/100th the speed of something that a human could do. So sending humans somewhere is definitely more expensive. It's more complicated, but we get a lot more science return at the end of the day with things that a scientist can do. You can actually go and pick up a rock and look at it from all different angles. You can stand there and look at the scenery around you, which as a geologist, that's a really important thing to be able to do. It's not that easy to do science remotely. And when you are looking at pictures of a place or looking at data from a place, but you haven't actually been there to see it, it's a complete game changer. So yes, it's much more complicated. It's much more expensive. But I think especially for places like the moon and Mars, once we have humans there in the case of Mars, or return humans there in the case of the moon, we're going to learn so much more quickly than we would be able to do if we just kept sending robotic missions for the next few decades.
Dr. Harrison, you were speaking about India's Mars orbiter mission, Mangalyaan, as we called it. In fact, Pallav Bagla, who's with me in the studio right now, is somebody who likely coined that name, which stuck. ISRO picked up on it, and we all refer to it as Mangalyaan. But the Mars orbiter mission, what was special about it?
I mean, that was just India's first mission to Mars. I think that made you guys the third country to successfully get something to Mars, or fourth, I guess, with the European Space Agency. And so again, it just opens up a lot of doors.
First attempt.
In the first attempt. That's amazing too. Like Dr. Tyson was just saying, a lot of stuff fails on the first attempt. So the fact that it was successful and it returned a bunch of incredible data is really amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what India is going to do at Mars next. I hear you're planning a follow-up to that mission.
Yes, also a first mission to Venus is on the cards. Not many countries have been to Venus, and Venus is very exciting too. Does that excite you?
Oh, absolutely. We know so little about Venus because we've sent so few missions there. So it'll be nice to see another country take a stab at it.
What are your thoughts on, expenses in space? India's space program is known for being frugal. For example, you're talking about Mangalyaan, the mission to Mars. That entire mission, sending an orbiter of Mars, cost India less than what it costs Hollywood to get a mainstream production up and running, which is remarkable. But as you expand your ambitions, there are no two ways about the fact that space costs. It costs phenomenally. So how does one balance, frugal engineering and the roadblock, which is that ultimately you're going to have to spend a lot more?
I think that's something that the space program in general, not just in India or not just in the US, is trying to tackle with things like these collaborations with commercial companies like Axiom. If you collaborate with commercial partners, a lot of times they can help bring the cost down. At the same time, we've seen some of the downsides of that with things like missions that are going through NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program that have not had a lot of luck landing on the moon. At the same time, this is the first time that they're trying to do it as well. So this is a lot of testing and trying to see what this is like. And they're really bringing the cost down from what it's been traditionally for government missions in places like the United States. But I think that we should be taking inspiration from places like India and saying, well, if you can build your first successful Mars mission for $33 million US, what is it that lets you do that type of innovation at those price points, and what are we doing that maybe we don't need to be doing in countries that have these giant price points? I remember somebody pointing out one time that the Opportunity rover, for example, lasted on Mars for 15 years, and the original price point for that and its twin rover Spirit was around $700 million US at the time that it launched. But that mission was only supposed to last for 90 days, 90 Martian days. And so are we over-engineering these missions to last a lot longer than they need to, because we could be launching new missions instead of using old technology for 15 years? It's a great story to hear that these missions last for a long time, but maybe it's not necessarily the best scientific or technological answer at the end of the day. So I think there's a lot of factors to weigh there in terms of like the cost benefit of these over-engineered or potentially over-engineered missions that last a really long time versus what are things that we're doing just because we are so risk averse in a lot of cases that maybe we've gone too far in the other direction. And so it's added a lot of cost, complexity, time for testing. Is some of that able to be cut out without necessarily making it the missions to be completed at the end of the day?
Now, what we are seeing today is a collaboration between NASA and ISRO. And very soon, in the next few weeks, we will see the first big satellite being made, which has already been made to be launched from India, the NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar Satellite. And I point out to my audience and to you that the NISSAR satellite is the world's single most expensive civilian Earth imaging satellite ever made, cost upward of $1.2 billion. So while India explores space, it is not forgetting doing its duty for Earth.
Yeah, NISSAR is going to be groundbreaking. I think people don't think about radar very much because it's not something that brings back pretty pictures that people are used to seeing from Earth imaging satellites, but it can tell us so much about things like natural disasters, about weather. So it's going to be a game changer when that comes online.
All right, Dr. Tanya Harrison, wonderful speaking to you, and thank you so much for being with us, sharing your thoughts on ISRO, the International Space Station, crewed flights, and the future of the Indian space program. Thank you very much indeed. Well, just a little while back, we spoke to the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. Jitendra Singh. He monitors space. That's one of his jobs. Let's just take a look.
We are being joined by Union Minister Mr. Jitendra Singh. Let's go straight to him, sir. A big moment for India. Axiom-4 has just docked in the International Space Station, and we are seeing that Shubhanshu Shukla is in fact also playing a very important role in the part of the docking process.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's something to be celebrated by the entire nation. And as Prime Minister Modi had tweeted this morning that this is going to be a very proud moment for all of us, because for the first time an Indian is going to step into the International Space Station. And not only that, he's going to be one of the pioneer participants among those who are there. And referring to the docking which just now happened, of course, I think not only that, they were supposed to be there by 4:43. They reached about 30 minutes earlier. And I was saying in the lighter vein that had it been one of the domestic airlines, as the popular jargon is being used these days, one of the crew would have announced, happy to announce before time arrival. So Subhashu and the other three have in fact made up before time arrival at that docking point. They are now at the threshold entrance. Very soon they will be actually stepping into, and then maybe after 2 hours or so, a formal welcome ceremony by the other 7 colleagues who already happen to be there, 2 of them from Russia, 2 from the United States.
So earlier you had mentioned that we are dealing with this in a very futuristic approach. We are using all the scientific methods that has been available. All the equipments provided to Shubhanshu Shukla was developed from all across the nation, and then it was provided to him. We're also seeing that India is pushing forward the Gaganyaan mission. How do you think this whole experience from Shubhanshu Shukla is going to help in that mission?
No, I think this expedition itself demonstrates our living up to the envisaged goals in more than one ways. For example, when we talk of the experiments, all the experiments, they have been indigenously planned. They have been developed by indigenous institutes. The kits are also, the material also indigenous, so we are living up to the mantra of Atmanirbhar Bharat. That's A. B, we are going to share these important findings and inputs with the rest of the world, which were not available to them till now, which means now we are going to be Vishwa Bandhu Bharat also.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
Rajnath Singh, who addressed the Shanghai Cooperation Organization defense ministers meeting in China, refuses to sign a document which dilutes India's stand on terrorism. There is no mention of Pahalgam. India doesn't sign it. A big breakthrough in the Air India crash probe. Data has been downloaded from the recovered black boxes. It's been downloaded here in India, and analysis of the data is underway. After a controversial message on the social media site X, where Indira Gandhi was equated to Hitler, there is a huge controversy, an FIR against a Karnataka BJP Twitter handle. And a huge row explodes with the Diljit Park actor movie row, controversy there.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold ICICI for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
सज गया है मंच, शिरकत करेंगे जाने माने कलाकार। एनडीटीवी का क्रिएटर्स मंच है आपके लिए तैयार। शामिल होंगे लेजेंडरी राइटर जावेद अख्तर, अपनी कविताओं से युवाओं के दिलों पर राज करने वाले कवि कुमार विश्वास, समय से परे की फिल्म बनाने वाले डायरेक्टर इम्तियाज अली और बेस्ट सेलिंग राइटर चेतन भगत। यहाँ फन और एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा, साहित्य से नई रचनाएं, नई सोच, नया मंच। एनडीटीवी लाया है आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स मंच। आप भी जुड़ें एनडीटीवी नेटवर्क पर।
In the last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Genzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have two credible
credit rating agencies on March 4th coming and downgrading the stock to D.
Statements are consistently being proven wrong, and transactions are being taken place which are different from what they were originally pictured to be.
The company claimed it would roll out 6,400 electric vehicles. But what it has rolled out is a shocking scam. Funds meant for the project were funneled allegedly back to the promoters, the Junkie brothers. What did the money buy? Not EVs, of course, but a lavish flat in Gurgaon's luxurious DLF Carmelias.
भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता हुआ कवि, एक पेंटिंग बनाता हुआ चित्रकार, सुरीले राग गाता हुआ एक गायक और फिल्म के रूप में दुनिया की हकीकत दिखाता हुआ एक फिल्मकार। सब चाहते हैं कि उन्हें एक मंच मिले जहां से उनकी उड़ान को दुनिया पहचान सके। एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच एक ऐसा ही मंच है। आइए इस मचान पर स्वागत है, एक वक्त बिताएंगे एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच पर।
That's huge. That is a biggie. It's out there.
गोल्ड प्लस क्लियर ग्लास, पार हो या नियर, सब कुछ दिखे क्लियर।
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that US President Donald Trump attacked Iran because he needed to do showmanship and warned America against any further attacks on his country as he made his first public comments after the ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Speaking in a video broadcast on Iranian state television, his first appearance since the 19th of June, Khamenei said any attack on Iran would come at a great cost.
Iran achieved against the U.S. regime. For the American regime entered a direct war against Iran because it felt if it didn't do so, the Zionist regime would totally get annihilated. So they entered the war in order to salvage the Zionist regime. But they achieved nothing out of that war.
Well, it's time now for us to take a short break. There's more coming up.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
There have been 4 alerts which have been sounded off here. In fact, what we can confirm is that one missile did hit a residential building in Beersheba. As I speak, you can hear the air raid sirens going in. So I will have to make my way and see if we can find us a safe place. This is the announcement being made. Listen into it. We are coming to you live from this location which was hit in Beersheba, a residential high-rise. Ruins of this building tell you the cost that this war, the 12-day war so far, has taken.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India.
A 34-year-old woman from Uttar Pradesh drove her car on a railway track in Telangana's Rangareddy district, sparking panic among the staff and causing train services to either get suspended or diverted. The incident, a video of which has gone viral, took place near Shankarpalli. A 13-second clip showed the four-wheeler, a Kia Sonet, being driven along the railway track. She was eventually pulled out of that. A bizarre situation indeed.
A bizarre incident this morning around 7 a.m. at Shankarpalli near Hyderabad. A Kia Sonet car came onto the railway track and drove about 6 to 7 kilometers. Even though people were trying to stop it, it would not stop. Subsequently, it was found out that there was a 34-year-old woman from Uttar Pradesh inside the car. She refused to even get off the car, but she had to be forced outside. She came out with a martial arts weapon, a nanchuk in her hand, and 15 to 20 people had to get together to try and stop her. The police were worried that this should not result in an accident, the car being on the railway track, a busy railway track that connects Hyderabad to Bengaluru, and therefore 10 to 15 passenger trains had to be diverted in order to avoid any kind of an unnecessary collision. What we also understand from interrogation subsequently, even though she was said to be aggressive, non-cooperative and very, very angry as well, is that she is someone who possibly lost a job recently with an MNC. She is also a single woman, a divorcee, and she had also said that she had a disturbed childhood. The clue that the police have got is that on her bag was written murder or suicide, and the police are guessing that she may have wanted to commit suicide and make it appear like a murder, but then she could have walked on the track by herself. Why did she bring her car along, and why was she driving on her in her car on the railway track is something that is still unanswered.
Diljit Dosanjh is in the midst of a huge controversy over the casting of the Pakistani actress Tanya, who plays a key role opposite Diljit. The decision has triggered a wave of backlash, especially given the ongoing political tensions between India and Pakistan. The popular singer Guru Randhawa has now thrown a curveball into the ongoing narrative by posting a cryptic message on X, hinting that the controversy might be a calculated PR move rather than genuine public outrage.
Guru Randhawa is now implying that this entire controversy, this big fight, is actually, it just could be a PR stunt.
बिल्कुल गार्गी, I think देखो अगर वो समझदार होते तो he could have deleted that post. The post is already there, which he posted about that movie. वो वहीं पे है. अगर उनको थोड़ा सा भी गिल्टी फील होता है या थोड़ा सा भी उनको लगता है कि यार मुझे सॉरी बोलना चाहिए, तो वो सिंपली आके सॉरी बोल दें. और हम सभी लोग प्यार करते हैं. He is a great artist. We all respect him. We all love his music. But this time हमारे लिए देश पहले है. और अगर उनसे कोई गलती हो जाती है तो आगे सॉरी बोल दें और अपना पोस्ट डिलीट कर दें.
उन्होंने एक पोस्ट डाला है, उन्होंने हिंट किया है कि शायद ये पूरी कंट्रोवर्सी एक पीआर स्टंट है. ये जो बॉयकॉट की बात जो चल रही है, शायद ये एक पीआर स्टंट है. एंड उन्होंने कहा है कि व्हेन पीआर टीम इज मोर टैलेंटेड देन द टैलेंट इटसेल्फ.
100% he is right. I totally agreed with Guru. Because देखो आपको गार्गी आपने have you heard about सरदार जी फर्स्ट? नहीं ना. आपने सुनी सरदार जी 1 कौन सी थी, 2 कौन सी थी? अब सडनली 3 के बारे में ही बात हो रही है. पहली 2 का तो पता नहीं चला. तीसरी का अगर वो समझदार होते तो वो पहले ही आके बोलते यार मैं 4 महीने पहले बोलते कि मैं मूवी मेरी जो बन चुकी है मैं रिलीज करना चाहता हूँ, मेरा बहुत सारा उसमें खर्चा पैसा लग गया है. बट उन्होंने सीधा उसका पोस्ट डाला. तो पता है कि इसका रिजल्ट यही आएगा. वो सीधा करनी चाहिए. जब हमारे रिश्ते अच्छे होंगे पाकिस्तान के साथ, डेफिनेटली हम उनके साथ काम करेंगे या उनका. स्पेशली मुंबई में आके मैंने एसोसिएशन से लाइव होके मैंने सॉरी मांगा था. अगर आपको याद होगा मेरे फुटेज वहाँ पे होंगे. तो अगर ठीक है गलती होती है, ये वो गलती नहीं है जो मेरे से काम करो. मुझे भी पैसा पसंद है लेकिन मेरे लिए देश पहले. मैंने एक गलती करी थी 2019 में, उसके बाद आज ये 2025 चल रहा है. मैंने कभी किसी पाकिस्तान सिंगर या कभी प्रमोटर के साथ काम नहीं करा पाकिस्तान में जाके.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora, we cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, Real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I
or
hold
buy time to invest in
CDSL
that?
for the long term? Buy, sell or hold?
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
सज गया है मंच, शिरकत करेंगे जाने माने कलाकार। एनडीटीवी का क्रिएटर्स मंच है आपके लिए तैयार। शामिल होंगे लेजेंडरी राइटर जावेद अख्तर, अपनी कविताओं से युवाओं के दिलों पर राज करने वाले कवि कुमार विश्वास, समय से परे की फिल्म बनाने वाले डायरेक्टर इम्तियाज अली और बेस्ट सेलिंग राइटर चेतन भगत। यहाँ फन और एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा साहित्य से, नई रचनाएं, नई सोच, नया मंच। एनडीटीवी लाया है आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स मंच। आप भी जुड़ें एनडीटीवी नेटवर्क पर।
The last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Genzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have two credible credit rating agencies on March 4th coming and downgrading the stock to D.
Statements are consistently being proven wrong, and transactions are being taken place which are different from what they were originally pictured to be.
The company claimed it would roll out 6,400 electric vehicles. But what it has rolled out is a shocking scam. Funds meant for the project were funneled allegedly back to the promoters, the Junkie brothers. What did the money buy? Not EVs, of course, but a lavish flat in Gurgaon's luxurious DLF Carmelias.
भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता हुआ कवि, एक पेंटिंग बनाता हुआ चित्रकार, सुरीले राग गाता हुआ एक गायक और फिल्म के रूप में दुनिया की हकीकत दिखाता हुआ एक फिल्मकार। सब चाहते हैं कि उन्हें एक मंच मिले जहां से उनकी उड़ान को दुनिया पहचान सके। एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच एक ऐसा ही मंच है। आइए इस मचान पर स्वागत है, एक वक्त बिताएंगे एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच पर।
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20
Hello and welcome to the Southern View. All eyes now on space and Axiom-4's docking there at the International Space Station. That and lots more lined up over the next hour with Vasudha and me, Veera Raghav. Namaskaram, namaskara Vasudha. Hegi Veera, nalla irkingla?
Vanakkam Veera and namaskar to all our viewers from New Delhi. We get you all the news from around the country and the world. On this show, special focus this evening on the Axiom-4 docking in space which has happened. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, making all of us proud, has walked into the International Space Station. And of course, in the political face-off we have over the emergency, all that and more. But first up, the headlines. A big breakthrough in the Air India crash probe. Data has been downloaded from the recovered black boxes. Analysis of this data is underway now.
After 9 days in the darkness, Iranian supreme leader emerges to attack the United States. Khamenei roars a big slap to the United States.
Diljit Dosanjh movie Rav explodes now after Mika Guru Randhawa hits out at Diljit Dosanjh. Randhawa says, "Remember, you were born in India."
Well, first up to that big event in space, especially for India. After a long 24-hour journey with Amras and Moong Dal Ka Halwa, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla became the first Indian to go to the International Space Station managed by SpaceX. The 4-mission Crew Dragon docket at the ISS, making an important moment in its journey there, Vasudha.
That's right, Veera. A momentous occasion for all Indians and all space enthusiasts across the world, as Shubhanshu Shukla, or Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, is the only second Indian to go to space after Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma went to space aboard a Soviet spacecraft in 1984. The 4-person crew, including Mission Commander Peggy Whitson of United States of America and mission specialists from Poland and Hungary, will stay at SpaceX's International Space Station for the next 2 weeks.
That's right, Vasudha. We'll wait for some special guests to join us in just a bit, but you can see those pictures of the greetings and those fascinating moments in space. Obviously, all Indian space enthusiasts and as well as space enthusiasts around the world watching it very closely, live and continuing coverage here on NDTV on that big moment in space. Fascinating images there that have been beamed out of there. Remember, 41 years ago, and last evening, Vasudha, I was chatting with a few astronauts and astrophysicists who were there on the show, and I was asking them what was the difference between 41 years ago when they saw Rakesh Sharma become the first Indian to enter space, and now. They said that the big difference is black and white TV and color TV, internet, and waiting for the newspapers to get the information then. So much has changed in terms of times, both in Earth and perhaps in space, Vasudha.
Absolutely, Veera. In fact, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla says that he was not even born when Rakesh Sharma, or Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, went to space. And clearly he says that he's relearning to live and eat and sleep like a baby, because, he has to spend, he spent almost over 30 hours on that Crew Dragon. And of course, now he has to spend 2 weeks at the International Space Station. A big responsibility on all of these astronauts and specialists. But yes, all our wishes are with them. We do have some special guests with us today. Dr. B.R. Guru Prasad, who's the director of Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium in Bengaluru. We also have other guests who will be joining us in just a bit. We also have Dr. Venkateshwara Sharma, who's a former deputy director of DRDO. Dr. Guru Prasad, help us understand, how is this such a big milestone for India's space journey? How would you look at these visuals? How would you describe them for us? How challenging is it going to be for these people for the next few days?
Namaskar. Good evening. And I don't know how to describe it. Even I am so, touched by these kind of visuals. Look at the way in which these rookies, these 3 people, Shubhanshu Shukla, Slavoj Buznansky, and Tibor Kapu, all the 3, how they are floating, how they are enjoying their weightless environment, in fact. The ambience is so touching, really, and the way in which they are enjoying weightlessness, really, it's a matter of... I don't know. The thing is, let us say it's a matter of special celebration for India. Because, I was watching in the afternoon the words of Shubhanshu Shukla, and he was so emotional. And the way in which he was expressing his feelings, it was really touching. And his colleagues were so much supportive, I saw. And, he was telling, emotionally speaking, he said that, Tiranga was on my patch there on my shoulder. And I am not the one who has come to space. I am representing, I have brought 140 crore people, all the Indians. It was so touching. And, as Veer Raghav was mentioning, yes, Rakesh Sharma's flight was black and white TV era. That's what yesterday I was telling, that on April 3rd, 1984, I watched it on a black and white TV in one of my friend's house. Okay, and from Doordarshan we had the visual, and it was compared to International
Right.
Space Station and Crew Dragon. Soyuz spacecraft is a little smaller one, quite a bit smaller one, and compared to that, look at the kind of facilities, the kind of special ambience you have in the International
absolutely.
Space Station, and it is very nice.
As you're
and for
speaking-
Indians, it's a matter of pride.
As you're speaking, sir, we are sending out live pictures that have been coming in to us from that space station. Not live, just a little while ago when they all entered that International Space Station. Dr. Venkateshwar Sharma, what would be the key challenges? Perhaps the next big television moment would be the re-entry time. But over the next 2 weeks, what would be the key challenges out there, both for the astronauts as well as for the crew on the ground here?
Namaskar, good evening, namaskaram. How are you all? And really very, very happy moment for all of us. And as a rocket scientist, space scientist, and having worked in this Gaganyaan for time immemorial myself, I feel it is a great achievement in two aspects. One is that the amount of technical knowledge, amount of scientific knowledge, amount of experience that we have got, right from training him from 2019 till putting him into ISS is something which we have to take it in a way that is useful for us in our Gaganyaan and the human space programs. Which there is always a purpose with which we do anything and everything, and that is one big achievement. And the learning that has happened over this ISS. Program, Astronaut getting into ISS is something which I, as a scientist, as a technocrat, as an engineer, I think it is a very big learning. This is one part. Second part is that, of course, the blessings and the best wishes of 140 crore people who kept confidence in ISRO, encouraging in every step, even when we had successes and failures, and bringing us to this level of sending an astronaut, our own astronaut who was selected in 2019, trained at Russia, trained at NASA, trained at ISRO, Bangalore, and putting him into space is a really great achievement. And the joy that you can see across the country, across the student community, across industrialists, and across all the type of people is something which so far is a success, which we necessarily need to take it forward in our own mission, because we do everything with a purpose. The second part is that the next 14 days are going to be really important, and something which we say that we are going to start the work now. Our activity starts now is something which we have to see. And out of 60 experiments which have been planned, supported by 30 countries, the most important 7 experiments which Shubhanshu Shukla is scheduled to do. If you classify it broadly, if you can see that how to grow the plants in space, in the microgravity, and how does it make a difference? Right. How do you analyze the plant which is grown in the space, the microgravity, to that of the earth, from the nutrients, etc., is one part. That is, if ever an astronaut, see, this 7 experiment has a purpose. If ever an astronaut goes to space, right, how does he grow and make his own food? And how does he make his own living in terms of maintaining his muscle mass, etc. And most importantly, one of the experiment which is also planned is to operate the laptops, keyboards, and the things which are useful directly, immediately for our Gaganyaan mission pending 2026 and 2027.
Oh, absolutely.
Dragon.
Absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that. Sometimes I wonder whether it would have been much better. I don't know if I had the hard work or the ability, much better to have been a astrophysicist, or at least aim to be an astronaut instead of being a journalist, television anchor, Vasudha.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much to both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks very much.
There's so much of mathematics, and there's so much of data, and like you rightly said, there's so much work that goes into this.
Right, absolutely. Thanks very much to our guests there for joining us here. But now back to earth and to Tamil Nadu politics, Vasudha. An NDTV exclusive on the father versus son battle in the Patali Makkal Katchi in Tamil Nadu. The founder and patriarch of the PMK, S. Ramdas Sr., has categorically reiterated that he is in charge of the party and that he has no reservations about the party's alliance with the BJP. There has been a public exchange, remember, between Ramdas Sr. and his son and former Union Cabinet Minister Anbumani Ramdas.
That's right, Veera. PMK has a substantial voter base in the northern part of Tamil Nadu. It's a small party but was considered a significant ally of the NDA. And this rift has been playing out in public for a while between the two Ramadases. The junior Ramadas has also been minister at the centre. And there have been questions about senior Ramadas having reservations about PMK's alliance with the NDA. But he's categorically reiterated that he is with the BJP alliance. And he's even praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi in an interview to NDTV's Sam Daniel. Let's listen in to that.
Are you stopping younger leadership coming to positions? Because you always encouraged young people. By stopping Mr. Anbu, Dr.
I didn't stop any young people coming to politics, because when he was 35 years old, I have given him Union Minister.
So you are the party's president now, not he?
Not he. I am the president and founder.
Recently you said before the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the alliance with the BJP was made without your knowledge. For the 2026 elections, will the alliance continue or would you want to change?
At present, I am not thinking about anything. That is, general body meeting will decide everything.
But are you happy with the alliance, being part of the BJP alliance?
Oh, I am happy. Main party in Tamil Nadu, DMK, they have already accepted the BJP's alliance. So it can be considered, it should be considered. I will consider it.
You're not against it?
I am not against it.
Right. How would you rate the performance of the DMK government in Tamil Nadu over the last 4 years?
I don't want to criticize anything.
Because?
Because.
No, you are in the opposition. You will have an assessment of the performance of the government.
People will decide in the future in the coming elections. They will decide.
What's your view of the BJP government at the centre, sir? They have come to power for the third time, and this time they could not get an absolute majority.
They are ruling.
They are ruling, but a weakened BJP in that sense.
Yes, they are ruling. Modi is performing very well. Our Prime Minister, he is performing very well.
They say three-language policy does not impose Hindi. It only provides an opportunity to learn an additional language for children.
That is false. False means they have misguided the people.
Three-language policy is an indirect way to impose Hindi, you think?
Of course, you are correct. 100% correct.
Well, an aging Ramdas there making his point very clear. Joining me now is Sam Daniel. Sam, far from the days when Dr. Ramdas was the man who decided who won, who lost in Tamil Nadu towards the late 90s and the early 2000s, the PMK has been declining sharply, but a crucial NDA ally. Is there a sense that the father-son rift could push the party further down in an election year?
That's the worry among supporters of the PMK Veeraraghav, as the father and son publicly exchange spat and they keep appointing and expelling people. The worry is the party could actually head to a split before 2026 assembly elections. But Ramdas also added today that he does not anticipate that. He hopes that there would be a patch-up, there would be an amicable settlement, that Anbumani Ramadas, his son, would give up his fight or the position of the party's president, and then everything is sorted, he says. But yes, in the early 2000s, the party had 20 MLAs. They were also sharing power at the centre. Ramdas's party always was on the winning side, switching sides between the ruling DMK now and the opposition AIADMK. But after 2011, their political fortunes dwindled. Somehow their calculations and strategy failed. But Ramdas is clear that he likes to continue with the BJP alliance now. And now that the AIADMK has already shaken hands, he says he would want to continue, but the final word, he says, would be taken by the General Council. But he's not giving up on the position of the party presidentship. At the same time, he's also taking on the BJP on issues of Hindi imposition, delimitation, and a few other issues.
Yeah. So the family rift in PMK, a critical NDA ally, at least in 2024, playing out in the open now. But Senior Ramadas saying that Prime Minister Modi is working and he's working well for the country. So that really gives us some political signals as well. Stay with us, Sam. Also, we have another story from Tamil Nadu. The Chennai cocaine case, Veera, the police have now formally arrested actor Krishna after 24 hours of questioning. The actor is from a noted film family. He is related to, in fact, the son of Vishnu Vardhan, who's a director. His arrest comes just after the arrest of another noted actor, Srikanth, and a film producer, Prasad, with links to opposition AIDMK. Sam, tell us a little bit about what is really happening in the Tamil film industry. We've seen similar events play out in the Malayalam film industry as well, and now that film industry has a no-drug affidavit mandatory in some of those shooting sets. How is the industry reacting to this, and how is Tamil Nadu police going about this case?
Vasudha, the film industry in Tamil Nadu is quite tight-lipped, but we can sense that the industry is quite worried, with police claiming that they have strong evidence that actor Srikanth not only used drug but also had close ties with the drug cartel, and he also purchased drugs. They have evidences like documents, financial digital transactions and things like that. And now with two more arrests today, including actor Krishna and another Kevin, who police say supplied or sold drugs including cocaine and methamphetamine to actor Krishna. Krishna himself, the police say, used to have conversations with drug users on WhatsApp, sharing information about where and at what time they would consume, they would use drugs. Besides, he enjoyed, they say, sharing drugs with his friends as well. Now, the worry among the film industry is this network could widen and there could be more names tumbling out as investigation proceeds. But the police say they are going step by step based on strong evidence. It's an ongoing process, they say. And although there is a buzz that there could be a few other actresses involved in this, nobody is officially confirming this. But the next a few days would be very crucial as police plan to take actor Srikanth and the other producer Prasad under police custody to get to the bottom of this.
Right. Important there, Sam. We'll keep a close watch on that case. Of course, several names, according to sources, possibly could tumble out in that case, which seems to be getting bigger, Vasudha.
Absolutely. We are also just going back to that previous story. Tell us a little bit about the PMK, because I find that story very interesting. There's a lot of news going around in Delhi that the NDA is going to expand its ally network in Tamil Nadu. What do you think is really happening with that Ramadas family?
The PMK, Vasudha, is a party which, the PMK as a party has dwindled in its fortunes quite a lot. Whether it still has a hold over its caste vote is a matter of that needs to be tested. It hasn't been able to prove its presence on its own without either the AIDMK or the DMK. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But from the NDA's point of view, yes, the PMK is an important ally, at least for the AIDMK in the northern districts of Tamil Nadu, where the one-year OBC vote base is concentrated.
Absolutely, Veera. So that's about the politics of Tamil Nadu. Now let's go to the murder in Andhra Pradesh that has some disturbing parallels to the horrific Sonam Raghuvanshi case. It has now emerged that the Sonam case, where Sonam allegedly hired killers to murder her husband, Raja Raghuvanshi, during their honeymoon in Meghalaya, could have sparked Aishwarya to murder her husband using hired killers in Kurnool town of Andhra Pradesh.
Well, it raises multiple disturbing questions, Vasudha. According to investigators, the prime suspect in the case, Aishwarya, who married Tejeshwar just about a month ago, had plotted this murder with the help of her lover. She shared her husband's location and the lover allegedly paid 2 lakhs to hired assassins. The police suspect that they could have conspired the murder after getting to know about Sonam Raghuvanshi case. That's a very disturbing part of this entire crime. Uma Sudhir has the details.
Investigations have revealed very disturbing and shocking details of how a newlywed wife planned the murder of her husband, who believed that his wife deeply loved him. Tirmal Rao and Aishwarya had in fact been inspired by the Meghalaya love story or murder story, and in which the husband had been eliminated, and in this case they wanted to eliminate Tejeshwar and for Aishwarya to go away with Tirmal Rao, so that it appears that the couple has disappeared and that would throw the police off track was their idea. But Aishwarya had not agreed, and therefore she had asked for the hired killers to go ahead and murder her husband Tejeshwar. The second detail is that they had put a GPS on the bike of Tejeshwar to be able to track all his movements. The third part, they had in fact been on video calls continuously for hours together every single day, even on the day of her wedding and even after her wedding as well. And despite the fact that Tejeshwar's parents and family were not in favor of him getting married to Aishwarya, Tejeshwar went ahead and married Aishwarya because he was very much in love with her, and she convinced him that she wanted to marry him. The fourth detail is that both Tirmal and Aishwarya had in fact planned to go away to Ladakh or Andaman, away from all this investigation and the disappearance of Tejeshwar back home.
Well, also with us this evening, Vikram Singh, former DGP of UP. Sir, you've seen many cases in your career. Sometimes I wonder if so much attention on a murder case of the nature of the Sonam Raghuvanshi case could have adverse impact on people. Like in this case, the police suspect that could have triggered off the conspiracy for this murder.
Good evening. What you said as a conjecture is unfortunately a ground reality. The OTT and such gory episodes do seem to have an impact on our conscious and the subconscious mind. Nothing operates in vacuum. This cold-blooded, deliberated, well-calibrated and calculated murder happened because the malignant impact that the Sonam and the Raja episode had happened in Meghalaya. Obviously, that story and the bombardment by the news and the channels on the impressionable minds, I would say impressionable, they obviously had the seeds for this to germinate in their minds. And what happened, of course, is a tragedy that spelled out another Sonam and Raja tragedy that happened here in Andhra Pradesh. Now, the almost eerie comparison, except for the fact that the murder weapon was very different. Here also, there are hired assassins, continuous video chats, the GPS mechanism in the two-wheeler, as also the orchestration done by the third person. And he himself probably taken a loan of 20 lakhs to go underground, either in the Andaman Islands or in the Sikkim. But that was not to happen because ultimately at the end of the day, but what is most shocking and surprising is the complicity of the family members who also arranged the three assassins and also held them in the conspiracy.
Mr. Singh, I'm sorry, we have to interrupt you. We have to go live to those visuals that are coming from Axiom-4. Remember that Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla entered the International Space Station just a while ago. Those are opening remarks there.
And we can't wait to spend this time together. Thank you.
And last but not least, number 636, Tibor Kapu. I just needed practice. It got easier.
I was an easier guy. All right. So, thank you very much, guys, for this really, really warm welcome. I really feel that this is the best crew that we could join to. It really feels great to be part of Expedition 73. As Tak, the commander, said that we have so many countries in the same time in the space station, but we also have 7 out of 11 who are complete new flyers, which also tells me how much space is expanding towards a new era. One of my friends told me 2 days ago when I was asking him what should I tell in space, what should be my speeches about, and he said that if there's ever a time for speaking from the heart, then this is it. And my heart is so full right now because of you guys and because of seeing Earth for the first time. There is a lot to choose from. So I'm extremely happy to be here, happy to represent my country. On our ride up, we actually saw our countries flying above those. It's truly a special feeling. Looking forward for these 2 weeks. I'm 100% sure that this is going to be awesome. Thank you.
On the ground, so you guys are welcome to speech.
और एक छोटा सा संदेश मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों के लिए, आपके प्यार और आशीर्वाद से सुरक्षित मैं इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन पे पहुंच चुका हूं और बहुत आसान दिख रहा है यहाँ खड़े होना, लेकिन थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है, थोड़ा सा सर भारी है, थोड़ी तकलीफ हो रही है, लेकिन ये सब बहुत छोटी चीज़ें हैं और कुछ ही दिनों में हम इसके यूज्ड टू हो जाएंगे। और ये पहला पड़ाव है इस जर्नी का और अभी आगे 14 दिन यहाँ पे रह के हम काफ़ी सारे साइंस एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करेंगे, आप लोगों से बातचीत करेंगे। लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं ये जो पड़ाव है ये भी दिखाता है कि ये हमारी अपनी स्पेस जर्नी का भी एक पड़ाव है। तो मैंने बात की थी आपसे कुछ देर पहले जब मैं ड्रैगन में था और अभी यहाँ से आगे भी बात करता रहूँगा। चलिए इस जर्नी को बहुत एक्साइटिंग बनाते हैं, बहुत उत्साह से इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं। मैं बहुत उत्साहित हूँ और मैं अपने शोल्डर पे अपना तिरंगा जो मैं लेके चल रहा हूँ, मैं मानता हूँ कि आप सब मेरे साथ हैं, तो मैं ये भी समझ लेता हूँ कि आप सब भी मेरे साथ उत्साहित हैं और मुझे लगता है कि अगले 14 दिन बहुत ही एक्साइटिंग जाने वाले हैं। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, Shuks. Drodzy Polacy, drogie Polki, cieszę się, że mogę tutaj Was powitać z pokładu Międzynarodowej Stacji Kosmicznej. Po raz pierwszy jesteśmy na stacji, po raz pierwszy mamy polską misję na Międzynarodową Stację Kosmiczną i bardzo się cieszę, że mogę reprezentować właśnie Was, 40 milionów Polaków, którzy mają możliwość obejrzenia misji, ale jednocześnie kontrybuowania do części naukowej, technologicznej i wykonywania eksperymentów na Międzynarodowej Stacji Kosmicznej. Będziemy prowadzić również lekcje fizyki dla dzieci w szkół, dla studentów i mam nadzieję, że to jest początek Polski technologicznej, obrazu Polski na świecie właśnie w takich miejscach jak Międzynarodowa Stacja Kosmiczna czy najbardziej zaawansowane laboratoria technologiczne. Bardzo dziękuję Wam za zaufanie. Tak jak już wcześniej mówiłem, kosmos jednoczy, jesteśmy tutaj razem, jesteśmy silni i budujemy naszą przyszłość. Dziękuję bardzo za zaufanie i do zobaczenia przez najbliższe 2 tygodnie. And over to Tibor.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. There's always a first time for anything, right? Üdvözlök mindenkit a világűrből. Ha jól számolok, akkor 2009 óta először hangzanak el magyar szavak innen a nemzetközi űrállomás fedezetéről. Shashi után, aki kétszer is járt itt, én álltak a következő, aki magyarul beszél ezen falak között. Hatalmas megtiszteltetés és elképesztő büszkeség számomra. Alig 30 órája se vagyunk a világűrben, de már volt alkalmam beszélni a szüleimmel egy pár perce, akik elmondták azt, hogy az ő szemükkel mit láttak a Földről, amikor mi elhagytuk azt, és már látjuk, hogy micsoda hatása lesz annak a küldetésnek, és amikor azt mondom, hogy küldetés, az nem véletlen, nekünk ezzel a pár következő nappal, héttel valóban egy küldetésünk van. Nem csak egy tudományos küldetésről beszélünk, nem csak kísérleteket fogunk elvégezni, egy inspirációs jelleggel is vagyunk itt. Szeretném megmutatni azt, hogy még egy ilyen kis nemzetnek is sikerült egy ekkora hatalmas dolgot végrehajtania. Én vallom azt, hogy kis nemzetek tudnak a legnagyobbat álmodni. Szeretném megköszönni mindenkinek azt, hogy lehetővé tette ezt a küldetést, lehetővé tette ezt az elmúlt pár órát és a következő napokat. Még egyszer csak azt tudom mondani, hogy rendkívül hálás és büszke vagyok, hogy magyarként itt lehetek.
Well, thank you again. you. Thank you again for welcoming us so openly and warmly. We really, really appreciate all of you and all of the team on the ground as well. Thank you.
Moment there in space. We're all used to holding mics all through our careers, but I wonder how the mic would feel up there on space without gravity. What a beautiful moment there. Full smiles. Historic moment for India as well there. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, along with the rest of those from the mission Axiom-4, along with those who were there at the International Space Station. So fascinating images from space. That's where all of our attention is at the moment. Right. Fascinating moments there, Vasudha. It's perhaps once in a lifetime to see those kind of moments. I wonder how so the mic would feel without gravity. We are used to holding it all the time. But how does it feel without gravity?
Absolutely. That's what Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla said today, Veera, that, the head feels heavy and things feel a little different in the body. But of course, that is just, a small thing. He is quite excited to be there. He has actually spoken in Hindi with that beautiful message to all Indians saying that, he's here and he knows that everybody is watching out for him and praying for him. And he said that he's safe and he's looking forward to an exciting time on that International Space Station.
I'm sure his mom would be thrilled to have heard him speak there from space. We'll take a very short break now, but when we come back, lots more.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
That's huge. That is a biggie. It's out.
Gold Plus Clear Glass. Par ho ya near, sab kuch dikhe clear.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
There have been 4 alerts which have been sounded off here. In fact, what we can confirm is that one missile did hit a residential building in Beersheba. As I speak, you can hear the air raid sirens going in. So I will have to make my way out and see if we can find us a safe place. This is the announcement being made. Listen into it. We are coming to you live from this location which was hit in Beersheba, a residential high-rise. Ruins of this building tell you the cost that this war, the 12-day war so far, has taken.
Have been reported reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaroop, only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I
or
hold
buy time to invest in
CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
सज गया है मंच, शिरकत करेंगे जाने माने कलाकार। एनडीटीवी का क्रिएटर्स मंच है आपके लिए तैयार। शामिल होंगे लेजेंडरी राइटर जावेद अख्तर, अपनी कविताओं से युवाओं के दिलों पर राज करने वाले कवि कुमार विश्वास, समय से परे की फिल्म बनाने वाले डायरेक्टर इम्तियाज अली और बेस्ट सेलिंग राइटर चेतन भगत। यहाँ फन और एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा, साहित्य से नई रचनाएं, नई सोच, नया मंच। एनडीटीवी लाया है आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स मंच। आप भी जुड़ें एनडीटीवी नेटवर्क पर।
The last 1 month, if you see the share prices of Genzol in
Welcome back, viewers. Veera Raghav and I will now talk about our top political focus now. The Karnataka Congress has filed an FIR against the state BJP's official social media handle for posting a video that compares former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to Hitler, complete with a moustache and the line that Indira is not India, Indira in fact is Hitler. Now posted yesterday, which was the 50th anniversary of the emergency, the video has triggered backlash, with the Congress party alleging that it was deliberately provocative, defamatory and also intended to incite unrest. Veera.
That's right. The BJP has since deleted that video, but not before the Congress workers staged a protest outside the BJP office, accusing the party of quote-unquote cheapening democracy and misusing emergency remembrance for quote-unquote hate politics. The BJP argues that it was a reminder of the authoritarianism, not an insult to the personality.
Absolutely, Veera. So has the emergency now become more than an occasion for just sober reflection? Has it become an opportunity to stoke political fires? But the memory of a turbulent time for the country is always bitter, cannot be whitewashed, because if we do that, then we are also forgetting the real lessons of 1975. But how much criticism is too much vilification or even defamation? That's what we discuss now. Joining us is Vijay Prasad of the BJP. We have Sujata Paul of the Congress Party, and we have political analyst Amitabh Tiwari. Thank you all of you for joining us on this broadcast. Sujata Paul, to you first. A video could have been countered with a video. This is past versus present. Why lodge an FIR and bring all of this, in that criminal space? Because the BJP is again accusing you of being authoritarian.
Clear that the BJP and the Congress Party are on the opposite sides of the spectrum. And let's face facts. When emergency was imposed, there were constitutional provisions for it. Today, there is an undeclared emergency. Even though Indira Gandhi ji apologized for it, and she did it publicly at Yavatmal, Dr. Manmohan Singh and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi apologized on the floor of the parliament. But the BJP has no answers to Mr. Deoras, who was the RSS chief, who supported the emergency. They don't have answers to Balasaheb Thackeray ji, who supported Indira Gandhi ji on emergency. But you know how they are exposing themselves. It's very clear for them. Now, when you don't want to forget the past, it only brings to the fore what you really are. Because, one nation, one election comes from the BJP. And let me remind you that it was Hitler whose party, the Nazi party, and Hitler himself had the slogan, Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. And that's what they are exposing. That one people, one nation, and one leader. This is the truth. Because these are the successors of the RSS that believes in Hitler.
Vijay Prasad, respond to that. That's an insinuation, a repartee to the video that's been put out. You're raising up the past and the present because the present has uncomfortable realities.
Veera, I think the last person should give sermons about the constitution is the Congress. See, Veera, if the boot fits, wear it. History doesn't lie. What Indira Gandhi did during the emergency, jailing opposition leaders, gagging the press, suspending elections and ruling by decree, was nothing short of dictatorship. If Congress feels offended by the comparison to Hitler, they should reflect on their own actions, not shoot the messenger, Veera. The emergency was India's darkest chapter, and Indira Gandhi authored it. Everyone knows it. And today, how will the current generation, the Gen Z, understand the atrocities done by Congress? Today is the digital era. The digital version of the atrocities done by Congress in 1975 that has been replicated. Why Congress feels so jittery about it?
Okay, that's a very interesting point. Let me get in Amitabh Tiwari here. Amitabh Tiwari, just a few weeks ago when Operation Sindoor was on, there was a certain lionizing of Indira Gandhi also by the Congress party and several other people because she's seen as this one leader who won a war for the country. But now the Congress leaders also feel that there is a larger vilification of Indira Gandhi that's happening, specifically when it comes to emergency, because it shows a face of the leader that probably the Congress is also not very proud of. In fact, a lot of them, they are also not very comfortable with this. How do you see the political discourse centered around emergency?
No, so clearly, when we compare with Operation Sindoor, as you said, Congress was partly claiming that Indira Gandhi fought a stronger battle than Prime Minister Modi did during the Operation Sindoor or after the Pahalgam attacks. Now, this is again bringing out a different nature of Indira Gandhi, and that occasion suits the BJP to bring this out amongst the public. See, what is happening is that, of course, there's a political motive behind it, and as you mentioned, of course, it's a day to reflect, a sober day perhaps, but it also tells the voters that the constitution gives significant powers to governments with more than 2/3 majority, and that
Amitabh, we seem to be losing your audio, but we'll come back to you. But both Sujata Paul and Vijay Prasad, 30 seconds each for your closing remarks, as we're running completely short of time.
Okay.
Sujata Paul first.
Yes. The fact is that the BJP does not have answers to the real problems of this country today. They are desperately frustrated because the non-biological supposed Prime Minister was brought down to earth by this very constitution, the powers that it gives to the people of this country, and that is what troubles them. They have no answers to the economic inequality which is in place today.
Okay, Vijay Prasad,
which is why
the Congress saying that there are no answers that you have. How will you respond to that?
See, I will not answer about the water bill of the Congress. See, from 1980 to 2014, the Congress party ruled for 28 out of the 34 years. Dark truth of the emergency was suppressed under the leadership of Indira, Rajiv and Sonia Gandhi. Okay, it is only now that with greater awareness and open discussion that people are remembering the horrors of this year. The emergency may
you should be ashamed of yourself. The horrors of Mr. Modi's rule from 2014
hang on, Sujata,
that's what you are doing. Don't speak lies.
We should remember that All India Radio was renamed as All India Radio.
I think this conversation right here. The past and present are often lost in the noise of political exchange. But I'm sorry, Amitabh Tiwari, for that internet connectivity issue. But we'll take a very short break here, Vasudha, because we have much more coming up on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता हुआ कवि, एक पेंटिंग बनाता हुआ चित्रकार, सुरीले राग गाता हुआ एक गायक और फिल्म के रूप में दुनिया की हकीकत दिखाता हुआ एक फिल्मकार। सब चाहते हैं कि उन्हें एक मंच मिले जहां से उनकी उड़ान को दुनिया पहचान सके। एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच एक ऐसा ही मंच है। आइए इस मचान पर स्वागत है, एक वक्त बिताएंगे एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच पर। If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India. And it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Welcome back. Tensions are brewing within the Congress party, and this time they have taken a flight, literally, metaphorically, a cryptic post by senior Congress leader Shashi Tharoor urging people to fly without asking permission, while warning of hawks, vultures and eagles always hunting has triggered a sharp response from his fellow MP Manikam Tagore.
All very cryptic, Vasudha. Tagore didn't hold back, replying that even free birds must beware because predators wear patriotism as feathers. While no names were taken, the message was loud and clear. There are perceived threats within and not just outside the party. The exchange playing out publicly on social media comes amidst murmurs within the Congress about Tharoor's recent praise for the Prime Minister's diplomacy and the party's struggle to present a united face. Much like Vasudha, Tharoor needs the Congress as much as perhaps the Congress needs Tharoor. An uncomfortable marriage there.
Of course, Veera, and now with the Kerala elections coming up, there's clearly a lot more action that we can look forward to. We have Rashid Kidwai with us, who's been observing, who's been following the Congress party for a long time. Mr. Kidwai, how do you look at the recent developments in the Congress party, specifically with regard to Dr. Tharoor?
Yeah, so Vasudha, I think there's a war of attrition that is going on between Shashi Tharoor on the one side and Congress leadership. It is also, Vasudha, very interestingly has genesis in Kerala politics, where Mr. Shashi Tharoor fancies himself as perhaps as a chief ministerial candidate. As we know, there are elections due early next year. And that is something which goes against the interests of the Congress General Secretary in charge of organization, Mr. K.C. Venugopal. So there is a lot of proxy battle that is going on. All those things, Shashi's pronouncements that have been made abroad and at home on the context of Operation Sindoor have actually been used as a pretext to sort of fix him. And Mr. Tharoor also is trying to free himself. Our problem with him is that he doesn't have many options, but he has a capability to hurt the Congress in Kerala. So this is the long and short of it.
Right, that's the long and short of it. Very, very briefly, sir, do you see both of them just trying to go through this uncomfortable equation through with it, just try and pull through with it?
Unlikely. A lot of psychological distance between two sides, and who will take the initiative? It's only Sonia Gandhi who can do it, and she's not going to do it. So, and Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge fancies, Shashi Tharoor, there is some kind of rival because they fought the Congress organizational elections, and Rahul Gandhi, he doesn't believe in this kind of communication. But lack of communication is hurting Congress more than Shashi Tharoor.
Absolutely, Mr. Kidwai. I also see it as one part of the Congress wanting to speak up because Shashi Tharoor has been speaking a lot, isn't it, Veera?
Absolutely, yes, but we'll have to stop speaking because I'm sorry, Rashid Kidwai, we'll have to stop speaking because we've come completely out of time. But I think one fun thing is to put on ChatGPT how Tharoor would respond to the controversy, and it throws up some amazing comments there, Vasudha.
Absolutely, and a lot of water has flown under the bridge, and we'll have to wait and see how Dr. Tharoor, reacts to this. We'll have to possibly look at his Twitter account, his X account, because there will be clearly another cryptic post that could be coming up. With that, it's time for a short break. Veera and I will join you tomorrow, same time.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora, we cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
There have been 4 alerts which have been sounded off here. In fact, what we can confirm is that one missile did hit a residential building in Beersheba. As I speak, you can hear the air raid sirens going in. So I will have to make my way and see if we can find us a safe place. This is the announcement being made. Listen into it. We are coming to you live from this location which was hit in Beersheba, a residential high-rise. Ruins of this building tell you the cost that this war, the 12-day war so far, has taken.
सज गया है मंच, शिरकत करेंगे जाने माने कलाकार। एनडीटीवी का क्रिएटर्स मंच है आपके लिए तैयार। शामिल होंगे लेजेंडरी राइटर जावेद अख्तर, अपनी कविताओं से युवाओं के दिलों पर राज करने वाले कवि कुमार विश्वास, समय से परे की फिल्म बनाने वाले डायरेक्टर इम्तियाज अली और बेस्ट सेलिंग राइटर चेतन भगत। यहाँ फन और एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा साहित्य से, नई रचनाएं, नई सोच, नया मंच। एनडीटीवी लाया है आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स मंच। आप भी जुड़ें एनडीटीवी नेटवर्क पर।
In the last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Genzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have 2 credible credit rating agencies on March 4th coming and downgrading the stock to D.
Statements are consistently being proven wrong, and transactions are being taken place which are different from what they were originally pictured to be.
The company claimed it would roll out 6,400 electric vehicles. But what it has rolled out is a shocking scam. Funds meant for the project were funneled allegedly back to the promoters, the Junkie brothers. What did the money buy? Not EVs, of course.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to India Matters on Thursday night. You know, in this country, we sometimes give a lot of importance, overwhelmingly large, exaggerated importance to what's happening in places outside the country, while we hardly place any focus on what's really happening here.
whether it is American politicians, whether it is the George Floyd case, whether it is crime, whether it's war. Do we really pay enough attention to what's happening right here in this country? And that leads to my, ironically, lead story tonight. So Zohran Mamdani, filmmaker Meera Nair's son and part-time revolutionary, full-time Modi beta, is now in pole position for the mayor of New York City. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Shiv, you just said it's ironic that we pay so much attention to what's happening outside the country. Well, I accept that irony because this is my lead story. Well, predictably, the Indian internet as well is completely lit up by this one name. He's trending, not because of his politics or the city he's contesting in, but because he's the son of that Meera Nair. That's right, monsoon wedding wali Meera Nair. And because he's made attacking India, specifically Modi, specifically Hindutva, the central plank of at least part of his American political hustle. Now, this isn't new. Zohran Mamdani's entire political persona is stitched from the same fabric as every other woke, tweet-deleting, contradiction-dodging activist in the US political runway. The same playbooks scream about Muslims in India, never about Uyghurs in China, preach inclusion and how the NYPD must be defunded because it isn't woke enough, but delete those very posts when you finally are within striking distance of the mayor's chair. Let's be clear, Mamdani isn't winning hearts in India. Well, actually he is. He's selling fear, though, about India to an American audience that laps it up. But I'm not surprised he's actually getting all this traction. Is anyone really surprised? I'm seeing a lot of negative reactions from some Congress MPs and some BJP MPs and some prominent commentators. I'm wondering why everyone is so triggered by Mamdani and why is anyone really surprised by his political success? This is, after all, Trump's America, where even a self-declared communist can find fertile ground among the anti-establishment fringes. He knows that pockets of radical progressives will show up and vote for someone who calls landlords enemies and cops oppressors, even while he deletes his old tweets about the NYPD. What does amuse me, though, is this Indian obsession. We're more invested in the New York City mayoral primaries than our own backyard. Now, Zohran Mamdani might be trending here right now, but can you even name your local MLA or MP? I didn't think so.
My name is Zohran Kwame Mamdani.
New Yorkers head to the polls in November and the city could see its first Muslim and Indian American mayor. Self-described socialist Zohran Mamdani could become New York City's mayor after his shock win in the Democratic mayoral primary. The 33-year-old candidate beat off competition from favorite Andrew Cuomo, the former New York governor who was attempting to make a political comeback from a sexual harassment scandal.
Tonight, we made history. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it. I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor.
The pro-Palestinian lawmaker and socialist Mamdani's popularity grew with sleekly produced social media videos which set out his vision of free buses, free childcare, new apartments and a higher minimum wage paid for by new taxes on the rich.
I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C.
But why is there outrage in India? The left-wing figure is facing intense backlash after a series of controversial remarks and resurfaced tweets targeting PM Modi, the Hindu faith, and India's democratic institutions.
Every single New Yorker deserves the same protections.
These remarks were met with sharp criticism from Indian leaders across party lines, like Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi said that when Zohran Mamdani opens his mouth, Pakistan's PR team takes the day off. India doesn't need enemies with allies like him. BJP MP Gaganyaan Ranaut said that he sounded more like Pakistani than any Indian. Whatever happened to his Hindu identity or bloodline, and now he is ready to wipe out Hinduism. Is this a case of mistaking radicalism for revolution, or marks a watershed moment for progressives and signals a shift in the city's political center of gravity? Only time will tell. Aditi Bhardwaj, NDTV.
So everyone's obsessed with this big viral story over filmmaker Meera Nair's son Zohran Mamdani, now poised to become the next mayor of New York City, the first Muslim mayor of New York City, a shock win that puts him right in the middle of Trump's America. And there are so many things being said. I'm joined now by Priyanka Deo, my NDTV colleague. She's an Indian who lives in the United States and has very sharp views on these matters, and I'm sure she does on Mamdani as well. Anish Gawande is national spokesperson of the NCP here in India. He has spent a lot of time abroad, and Anish, I notice on social media, is being called Bharat ka Mamdani, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment. But Priyanka, I want to kick it off with you. What are you making of A, Mamdani's win, and B, this huge interest in India beyond the obvious, beyond Meera Nair, beyond some of the baiting that we've seen? What are you making of this viral Mamdani moment?
Namaste. Thanks for having me on the show. I think that his campaign, for sure, keep in mind, he's not a winner yet. He still has to run for mayor. So if Cuomo decides to go as an independent, he faces quite a steep battle to come. But I think the campaign is definitely energized. But you have to see, Shiv, you have to see the campaign candidate for what they stand for, right? His platform, when you actually look at it, it actually faces very, very steep practical, fiscal, as well as political obstacles in the city of New York, right? More concerning to me is some of his ideological rigidity, right? His unwillingness to kind of engage constructively with opposing viewpoints. It's almost too radical to the point where he's freaking out some of the Democrats and some heavyweight Democrats. They're saying that it is too radical. He's giving a face to the Democrat Party that they do not want. They don't want this sort of radicalism and opposition, because this is why they lost the election. They lost the election to Donald Trump. They lost all of their swing states to Donald Trump. So they're very wary. His own party is very, very wary of just how radical he is. Now, it's one thing to say things on TikTok, but it's also another thing to pass them in City Hall, right? It's kind of for example, as Aditi said a little bit before, New York is the financial capital of the world, right? It's a place of central global markets. It houses some of the world's most powerful financial institutions. It's also responsible for a very significant share of the US GDP. Now, leading a city of this stature is not just, it's not going to be on radical ideas. Has he explained how he's going to raise the minimum wage? I mean, if people wanted to raise the minimum wage, I used to work at, a very, very low minimum wage jobs. I've worked there as well. I would love to see a higher minimum wage. I'd love to get paid more.
I'll come to some of his policy. I'll come to some of those policy planks in just a bit, Priyanka. But I want to bring Anish in on this. Anish, first of all, I want to kick it off by asking you, why are some people, I'm very curious to know why some people are labeling you India ka Zohran Mamdani. What's that about?
Zohran Mamdani and Mumbai ka Zohran Mamdani. I think it started off as a meme, and I'm very glad to be on the show with you today, Shiv, and funnily enough to discuss India ka Zohran Mamdani on my inaugural appearance on your NDTV show. I think it started off as a meme, and I think people were commenting on all these viral videos and going off of those and saying that Anish will be the next Zohran Mamdani in India. And I found that to be really funny because for two reasons, right? One is that India doesn't need a Zohran Mamdani. We've had Zohran Mamdanis long before, who've become mayors of some of our most incredible cities, who've come to political power at young ages, and who've disrupted the status quo in many ways, the same ways Zohran has. Now, the other reason India doesn't need a Zohran Mamdani is because so many of the policies he's spoken about, particularly in a city like Mumbai, have already been brought in decades ago. And so the fight that we're fighting in a city like Mumbai today is not to rework the wheel or bring about the progress that Zohran wants to bring about in New York, but to cement the progress we've already made.
Yeah.
He talks about grocery stores. In Mumbai, I grew up with Sahkari Bhandar. We talk about free buses. Which political party in India has not promised free buses today? He speaks about freezing the rent. We passed the Maharashtra Rent Control Act back in 1999. And we've got the Pagdi Tenants Action Committee and Pagdi Tenants' rights guaranteed by successive governments, regardless of which political party is in power. So the reality is that actually the leftmost candidate in the United States is probably a centrist in India.
True.
And will have to contend with a lot of socialist policy positions, ranging from minimum wages to worker protections, that we've instituted a very long time ago, right from Ahilya Rangnekar to Yusuf Meher Ali, to people like George Fernandez in the very city I was born.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I found that funny, but I think he's run an extraordinary campaign, and we have to give him that.
No doubt. Priyanka, one of the reasons why Zohran Mamdani has also lit up the Indian internet is because he's said many controversial things about India. He's attacked the government. He's attacked Modi in the past as well. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why there's a measure of adulation from a section of Indian audiences for the man. And like the both of you have said, India doesn't need a Zohran Mamdani.
Well, look, I don't think America needs a Mamdani either, because, let's face it, America has been built on capitalism. For better or for worse, it is a capitalist country. That's what it's known for. Now, that's the very essence of the US system. So it is impossible. We saw that with Kamala Harris and some of her debates when she went for president, right? Those policies do not pass. They don't work. It's like a complete overhaul. How do you go from a capitalist society to suddenly a communist society? He's openly said, I want to defund the police. I don't want the police.
He deleted that tweet then.
Yeah. He deleted it when he started running for mayor. So he's already contradicting himself, which means, are the things he's saying great on TikTok, but how's he actually going to do them, right? Yeah. And once they win, they don't do anything. That's also been historically seen in India, I guess all over the world, not just India.
But I want to come in here, Priyanka, because I think, of course, I share some of your pessimism because we've seen this narrative play out. But you can't help but feel a sense of hope in seeing someone like Zohran raise the issues that he does, right? The reality is that in a city like Mumbai today, young Mumbaikars cannot afford a home or cannot even dream of affording a home. The reality is they cannot afford to move out of their homes, out of the homes that they've built with their families, that they cannot afford to get jobs where they are paid well enough. And so these are crises that are facing our communities today that we have to acknowledge. Does Zohran have all the right answers? I don't know. I think clearly these are policy questions in the US. I lived in New York for many years. And funnily enough, I saw Zohran's first campaign when he was running for state senate and had put out some incredible videos because his father used to be a professor at Columbia University where I used to study. So I've watched his campaign closely early on. I haven't really kept up with the specific policy angles, but I think he's hit a raw nerve for young people, not just in New York, but across the world.
Priyanka, you want to respond to that? I saw you shaking your head.
I do. Yep, I do. Just because, yes, Anish, I do agree. Okay, there was a big debate when Biden was running against Trump, when Kamala was running against Trump, right? There's a huge debate in America that why can't we have a younger person? Why can't, and the same I would say in India, right? India, 65% of the population is under 35 years old. Why can't we have more younger politicians, right? So I absolutely agree that politics needs to be diverse. It needs to be a bunch of different people. Ideologies also should be different. But the point is, Anish, you've lived in New York. You cannot socialize a capitalist powerhouse without breaking the engine that funds the program. So essentially, his policies, it's not in, you have to look at city to city, place to place, right? New York is not the same as New Delhi. there's a whole different set of problems, right? So his policies, I believe, risks kind of harming the very residents that it aims to help. Whereas it might work in India, it may not work in America. Furthermore, I think the guy at 33 years old running for a place like New York, I could see a really young mayor in Springfield, Illinois, right, with a population of 120,000. But New York, Anish, have you ever walked down Manhattan? You see the number of people there, right? A mayor also cannot kind of override constitutional and institutional frameworks unless they are political heavyweights. So it's very difficult, essentially. Whereas I do agree with you that we do need young people. We do need energetic people for that sense of hope. But we also, I mean, there's value in experience. There's value in having that experience in politics to push policies through as well. I think that for New York, as Trump also said, I believe that he's absolutely wrong for New York. Perhaps maybe he should try for a smaller place.
Anish, 30 seconds left. Last word to you.
My only statement here would be that under Trump's America, all gloves are off. The man has shown that he does not care about institutions. He's shown that he does not care about the frameworks upon which the US was built. And in some ways, what you're seeing with Zohran today is a reaction. He said all gloves are off, that I'll arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to New York. And I don't care about whether the US has signed the ICC or not. And in some ways, we have to reconcile ourselves.
That's not
no, I agree.
material.
But I'm saying that this is the reality we find ourselves in. And all gloves are off in this mayoral election like they were in the presidential.
Priyanka and Anish, I'm out of time. I'd love to continue this, but I have a feeling we're going to be talking more about Zohran Mamdani in the days and the weeks ahead. Like Priyanka said, he hasn't won yet. There still is a general election to happen. So we'll be tracking this very closely. Safe to say, Zohran Mamdani is no longer Meera Nair's son. He's a man all by himself at this point of time. The global spotlight is on him and the Indian internet continues to be lit. Thanks, guys, for joining me here on this discussion on Zohran Mamdani. Meanwhile, it's the biggest ever fundraise. Let me repeat that. The biggest ever fundraise by an Indian private sector aerospace manufacturing company. Noida-based drone startup Rafe M-Fiber has just raised a staggering $145 million from a global venture fund. It's huge, but it isn't surprising. The company just proved its mettle literally during Operation Sindoor, where drones, just like the ones you see on your screen, didn't just watch from above. They were actually firing missiles at Pakistani targets. And ever since, there's been a huge surge in the Indian military's interest in acquiring more of these systems from Indian companies. The army, for instance, has just ordered 450 suicide drones from a competitor and is all set to order hundreds more from this company that has just raised all this money. It's flush with funds and will be in a position to innovate and deliver even more capable drones to the military. Now, this is a watershed moment for India's private defense sector and for young India looking for these high-tech jobs. It signals that Indian innovation in unmanned systems isn't playing catch-up anymore. It's building its own playbook. And with China's drone dominance long unquestioned, this company's success is a clear shot across the skies. Indian drones have arrived, viewer, not just in Pakistan, but in the balance sheets of some of the biggest investors in the world. And I'm very happy now to be joined by Vivek Mishra, who is the CEO and founder of Rafe M-Fiber. Vivek, big congratulations, $145 million fundraise, one of the biggest that we've seen in this country.
Thank you so much for inviting me and talking to me. So this is our Series B round where we have raised $100 million. And this was led by General Catalyst. And a lot of our existing investors like Mr. Ramal Parekh and Think Investment, they pitched in this round as well. And we started almost a decade ago. And this was the major round that we did to support the increase in capacity for our research, for our manufacturing capacity and such.
And this fundraise of $145 million, Vivek, owing to the big surge in demand, I take it, after Operation Sindoor, in which some of your drones actually participated in live combat.
So the vision has been from the day one that we want to develop a very strong research and manufacturing capability in India. We have been silently working for around a decade to develop the capacity where we are able to not only do research on the system level, but we are doing research and manufacturing on a subsystem level, wherein each and every part of the drone, be it the structure, be it composites, be it electronics, wire harnesses, or even software, that is being designed and manufactured here. And we have a unique manufacturing capability where state-of-the-art manufacturing techniques along with research is in one roof. So for us, it's the same vision. The value has increased, wherein we are raising a larger amount compared to the last rounds. But this is towards the same vision that we have to be able to do more deep research into every field and focus on manufacturing and indigenous capabilities.
Vivek, can India beat the big gorilla in the room, China, when it comes to drone tech and the drone market? I'm sure this is a question that comes up very often. Can we beat China?
100%. And as you rightly pointed out, we have started. So that's the key word. So we need a very strong ecosystem for design, development, and manufacturing. That's the key. And again, the vision has been that. And we want to partner with everybody who aspires to do this. And we have started to build that capabilities wherein we are able to go deep into a particular field. I'll give you an example. So for one of our drones, for long endurances, we needed internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
Now, anything existing in the market would be either too expensive or too heavy or would not meet the performance. So we decided that we would design and manufacture internal combustion engine here. And we were able to do so. And this is India's first design of an internal combustion engine. And when we designed this, the goal was not to recreate anything, but we were able to reduce the size, we were able to reduce the weight, increase the performance, and at the same time, attune it to the requirement for the UAV and hence the user. So,
wow, yeah.
I feel like there is need of a lot of companies who can focus towards research, focus towards manufacturing so that we are able to come up with unique products for the unique requirements of India, that is.
And finally, given the huge number of young Indians who leave India for lack of high-tech job opportunities, I'm assuming that your plans now with this 145 million means that there will be a reverse brain drain. And you yourself are an example of the reverse brain drain. You came back to India to start this company.
100%. And I thought that only we use the word reverse brain drain, but I am glad to see you use that as well. So we've been seeing this trend, and recently we sponsored a research-driven event in the US. And I was glad to talk to hundreds and hundreds of scientists who have been working there for 10, 15 years, or even the young scientists who are very excited to work in India and in these fields. So an advancement towards when everybody and most of the companies are working on these kind of things, I think they want to come back and everybody enjoys working here. And the primary thing is that if you give people the kind of work that becomes an enjoyment, especially for engineers and scientists, they would definitely want to come in. And we are seeing this. There are a lot of Indians who have come back from US, Europe, and are working with us. And not only Indians, we are proud to welcome other people as well who want to contribute towards this sector.
Well, what an incredible year you've had, Vivek, and your company, from participation in live combat and Operation Sindoor to the biggest fundraise in India's aerospace manufacturing sector, 145 million. Can't wait to see where you guys go with this. Congratulations once again, and thank you very much for being with me here on India Matters. That's a wrap on the show. And coming up next, it's The Last Word with Maria, where the big Bhangra brouhaha, where the Punjabi bros are at it over Diljit Dosanjh's new movie, which features a Pakistani actor. The who's who of the singing circuit have attacked Diljit. That's the big story next.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
That's huge. That is a biggie. It's out there.
गोल्ड प्लस क्लियर ग्लास, पार हो या नियर, सब कुछ दिखे क्लियर।
भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता हुआ कवि, एक पेंटिंग बनाता हुआ चित्रकार, सुरीले राग गाता हुआ एक गायक और फिल्म के रूप में दुनिया की हकीकत दिखाता हुआ एक फिल्मकार। सब चाहते हैं कि उन्हें एक मंच मिले जहां से उनकी उड़ान को दुनिया पहचान सके। एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच एक ऐसा ही मंच है। आइए इस मचान पर स्वागत है, एक वक्त बिताएंगे एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच पर।
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know your company, powered by NDTV Profit Research.
Hello everyone, this is The Last Word and I'm Maria Shakil. Singer-actor Diljit Dosanjh has found himself at the center of controversy following the casting of Pakistani actress Hania Aamir in his upcoming Punjabi film Sardar Ji 3. Although the film was completed before the tragic Pahalgam terror attack on April 22nd, Diljit's team has continued promotion of the movie, especially sharing the trailer and related content, which has triggered an outrage online, with social media users questioning the timing of the film's publicity and raising concerns about the inclusion of a Pakistani talent in light of the current socio-political climate. And amidst this growing tension, singer Guru Randhawa took to X with a string of cryptic tweets that many have interpreted as veiled criticism of Diljit Dosanjh. While Guru did not mention any names, the timing and tone of his posts were enough to catch public attention. So why is the boycott brigade at it again? That's what I ask my guests who will be joining me shortly. But first up, a quick update of what happened today.
It was meant to be just another Punjabi comedy. But Sardarji 3 is now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The trailer dropped earlier this week and sparked instant backlash. Pakistan on 27th of June. The film's timing and casting go against a rule the film industry has set post the Pahalgam attack. No collaborations with Pakistani artists whatsoever. Singer Mika Singh was among the first to publicly call out Diljit Dosanjh and demand an apology.
हम सभी लोग प्यार करते हैं. He is a great artist. We all respect him. We all love his music. But this time हमारे लिए देश पहले है. और अगर उनसे कोई गलती हो जाती है तो आके सॉरी बोल दें और अपना पोस्ट डिलीट कर दें.
Adding to that was a veiled dig from singer Guru Randhawa, who posted, "When the PR team is more talented than the talent itself, controversies become part of daily routine." Mika Singh agreed and said the situation needs sensitivity and respect for soldiers. Taking the matter further, the Federation of Western India's cine employees has written to Sunny Deol and Imtiaz Ali, asking them to reconsider working with Diljit. He's cast in Border 2 and a musical biopic with Imtiaz due in 2026. Diljit, promoting the film in London, broke his silence on the controversy. But not everyone is slamming Diljit. Singer Jasbir Jassi has spoken up in his support, calling the backlash hypocritical. He told NDTV,
80% गाने ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜਾਂ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਰਜ਼ਾਂ ਚੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਚੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਹੀ ਚੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਦੋਹਰੇ ਮਾਪਦੰਡ ਕਿਉਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਾਓ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਆਰਟਿਸਟ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਵਿਰੋਧ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ.
Sardarji 3 releases worldwide tomorrow, including Pakistan, but the debate around art, nationalism and timing isn't dying down anytime soon. Bureau Report, NDTV.
Singh is a singer. He joins me. We also have Girish Wankade, film trade analyst. Is it about good business when you have controversy of this nature? Mr. Wankade.
Not at all. This is going very sad now. The entire scenario is very derogatory, deteriorating. It is not good for anybody's career. And when the controversy especially goes with the patriotism, with the goodwill of the people, with the fan following, where there is a simple area where you have to take the side of our country. In that context, if the singer of a caliber of Diljit, if he has been talking against the Bollywood industry, against people who are talking about the Pakistani actors, this is not fair. We certainly believe that he has to be more docile. He has to be more accommodative. Not
who
at
has
all.
to be accommodative here, Girish? When you say it has to be accommodative,
singer has to be more docile, accommodative. He has to be more mature in saying what he's going to say. If
so you are calling Diljit Dosanjh immature?
Yeah.
How is he immature?
Because the
film is not shot in India, it is shot abroad, and Hania Amir is a damn good actor. If anything, knowing her popularity, the film might just do well.
That film may do well because there is a great Indian diaspora which watches this film outside India. But what about our country, where people are his huge fans? He has a great fan following, and where the mandate here of the FWICE is clear-cut that we won't allow any film which has got Pakistani actors. So it has to be honored. That is what my take is.
So you are of the opinion that Diljit Dosanjh should also not be cast? As we are seeing those letters being written to the film fraternity, that there should be no casting of Diljit Dosanjh going ahead as well. Why should he be punished? For choosing an actor who is very good with her work, who has given multiple blockbusters in Pakistan, for a diaspora audience which is in UK, US, she's popular. So coming together of these phenomenally talented individuals can deliver a magic.
Now that is one take where they are talented, but there are certain artists who are raising their voices against India. So when
but Diljit Dosanjh is not anti-Indian.
No,
he is as much a patriot as you are or I am.
But now that when the film fraternity or the film association is clear-cut that we won't allow the release of those films which features Pakistani actors, it has to be honored. If somebody is saying that, if a film committee is saying it, there are certain federations which are the apex bodies of film institutions. If that body has decided that we won't allow these films to be released which features Pakistani actors, at that moment we have to decide whether we should go with the film fraternity or we should go with the Pakistani actors. If he is chosen to go with the Pakistani actors, that is what I condemn.
So, Diljit Dosanjh, a popular Indian singer who has stood up for Indian values and culture, represents India, is an Indian brand ambassador on the global stage, has to choose between a Pakistani actor and India. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Of course, India's FWICE.
I mean, why should he be going through this test at all?
Because there are these actors who are all talking about, even after Pahalgam attack, these are the actors who are talking negative about India. There are certain actors who have tweeted against India. And that's why there is a film committee. FWICE is a committee which is Film Western India Cine Employees Association. It is the apex and very old body. The chairperson of this body has given a mandate, an embargo, that anybody who is talking against India, especially Pakistani actors, we won't allow their screening of those films.
Okay,
so ultimately,
Gurashish as well. Gurashish, how do you look at this entire controversy? You're a singer yourself.
Ma'am, there are many ways to look about it, honestly. And as an artist, if you ask me, I feel that we had this debate last time also that why do we, combine art with politics? So if anything has happened earlier, and I truly mourn with the losses of the people, and how it all started from Pahalgam attacks, and that's how one thing led to the other. But this is not the thing that led to it. So, we must realize that this is not a pile-up of the things that led to the war, and neither would this. But condemning this would definitely lead to more unpeace.
So, Gurashish, do you think the film fraternity is reacting too much, overreacting, if that word may be used here? Their reaction to say that Diljit has, violated the sanctity of, and is anti-national. He should be undergoing through, going through this test of nationalism. Is that all fair to ask?
Ma'am, even I would just say that when he was making the movie, I'm sure that scenario was in peace at that time. So definitely he must have not anticipated all of this, because he is not a fortune teller, or he's not someone who can predict the future of our countries, right?
Yes.
So I think that, condemning this right now is just being in the past. So, being in present would be to take this in a regulated manner. And I would say the government knows it very well how to regulate things, be it alcohol, be it any explicit movies, be it anything. So any prone areas where there are histories of Hindu-Muslim riots or anywhere, they can regulate this movie. But that would be my take on this.
Okay, so, there are a number of singers who are of the opinion that this act of casting a Pakistani actor in Hania Amer is actually anti-national move by Diljit Dosanjh. Gurishish, what do you think? Is it anti-national to feature Pakistani actors, Pakistani talent?
Ma'am, I think this is emotion speaking, and I certainly value emotions. That all of this, what has happened, and as I said, that I really mourn for everything that has been happening and that our world is seeing. But again, this is not that thing which is leading to it. So I would be there and sit right there and present right now. That let's talk about this present moment, and let's not involve and complicate things unnecessarily. Especially when it comes to art, because art is a form of entertainment, So if people are going to see a movie and believe, okay, you seeing an actor or actress, oh, she's a Pakistani, oh my God, Pakistan. And then, what is the point of art, which is to carry you away from your, distress, your thoughts, which you have been indulged in into the whole day. So, it won't take you to a newer dimension where you are at peace, you would feel entertained anymore.
Point taken,
if we talk about this in this way.
Thank you so much for joining us, Girish and Gurishish, on The Last Word. Shifting focus to our second topic on the show tonight. Luxury labels have a long history of borrowing from India, quote unquote, borrowing. Sometimes they have called it a source of inspiration, and at other times not even bothering with that excuse. Over time, we have seen a clear pattern emerge. Indian fashion is either branded as something exotic, spiritual or earthy, or it's simply repurposed under a Western label with no trace of its actual roots. The latest in this entire controversy is that of humble Kolhapuri chappals. Everybody would have worn it at some stage. First the report, and then we ask on the show tonight, is this appropriation or is this appreciation? Let's watch this report.
Italian fashion powerhouse Prada has sparked outrage after featuring leather flat sandals unmistakably similar to Kolhapuri chappals in its Milan runway show priced at Rs 1.2 lakh. India's iconic heritage went global, but without a shout-out to its roots. Netizens have slammed it as cultural theft, and others see it as Indian artisans gaining global recognition. Speaking legally, experts feel an infringement case may not hold in court.
प्राडा कंपनी ने हमसे किसी भी प्रकार का कोई संपर्क किया नहीं है। इस बारे में हम कंपनी से संपर्क करके और हमारा जो भी लीगल एडवाइज़र से सलाह लेकर के उसके ऊपर में किस ढंग से काम किया जाए, क्या कार्रवाई कर सकते हैं, इस बारे में हम विचार कर रहे हैं।
While legally a case may not be airtight, the ethical breach is harder to ignore.
The question is, what did Prada showcase? Did it showcase Kolhapuris or did it showcase sandals? Prada has taken a view that these are sandals and flat sandals.
Right.
So there was no misrepresentation, according to me.
Right.
So legally it may be very difficult to claim a geographical indication or a breach of that in this case. A passing of action may be yes.
Kolhapuri chappals date back to the 12th century and earned a geographical indication tag in 2019. Handcrafted by artisan communities in Maharashtra, they carry deep cultural and historical value. From a social justice lens, some believe the controversy could bring long overdue recognition and better prices for cobblers and craftspeople.
प्राडा कंपनी ने रैंप वॉक के लिए जिस तरह से कोल्हापुरी चप्पल को बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से वहाँ जो कुछ प्रशंसा हुई है बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से उसके लिए हम लोग जो क्लस्टर बना रहे हैं इस प्राडा कंपनी के कारण भी जो हमारा लेदर का जो कुछ इंडस्ट्री है उसके लिए ये बहुत फायदेमंद होगा।
खाली कोल्हापुर ब्रांड चप्पल का मुद्दा नहीं है, इसमें बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है। जो चप्पल है, पर्सेस है, जो हम लोग हमारे बहुत सारे उद्योग है जिससे ये जुड़ा हुआ है, तो मेरे ख्याल से इसका जब हमने ब्रांडिंग किया तो उसकी प्राइस हम भी बढ़ा सकते हैं।
The row has also caught the attention of Bollywood stars. Actor Sonakshi Sinha weighed in, calling out the price tag while rooting for local artisans.
I'd rather buy 1.2 lakh Kolhapuris in India, right? Yeah. Like as Indians, you feel very, very proud, which is great. But of course, the price points are a bit ridiculous.
Prada's Kolhapuri imitation has morphed into a national debate, blending heritage pride and government efforts to empower the craftsmen. While legal action remains uncertain, the question now is, will this controversy spark meaningful collaboration or remain just another luxury spectacle? Only time will tell. With Bureau Report, this is Radhika Ramaswamy for NDTV.
Indian heritage has become a mood board reference for designer labels, but rarely with due credit. So the question is, do international fashion labels take Indian craft for granted? They remix, rebrand and repackage traditional Indian design, presenting it as their own, with zero mention of its origins. The same design sensibilities, the same textile legacy, and often the same embroidery techniques are served on a fancier platter. The latest example is that of Prada. So we ask on the show tonight, can Indian artisans legally stop brands like Prada? Can this be taken up legally? Can the government challenge it? Why did Prada call its leather sandals, in fact they called it leather sandals and not mention Kolhapur, the place from where these Kolhapuris actually originate? Does Prada's unacknowledged use violate the GI tag? Remember, the Kolhapuri chappals got GI tag in 2019. Can Indian artisans claim compensation? Why not? We ask that. And is this cultural appropriation dressed up as fashion? And how does Prada really justify that 1 lakh rupees price tag? And what does this really mean for the Indian artisans? The fact is, can Prada be sued? Perhaps yes. So let me bring in my guests tonight who are joining us. We have our in-house stylist here, right here in the studio. Mayank is joining us. We have Shaina NC, fashion designer, and Tara Deshpande, actor and writer. Shaina, I want you to wear the hat also of a Shiv Sena leader. The question is, it is your government in power. Kolhapur is in Maharashtra. Why is the government not taking this up?
So firstly, Maria, let me please say, I think it's really cool that we have the Kolhapuri chappal going world over. And as far as India is concerned, we've also set many of fashion trends. It's not always been the West that we have needed to ape. I'm glad that the West is aping Indian designs, or for that matter, seeking inspiration from the Kolhapuri chappal. I speak both as a fashion designer and as a member of the Shiv Sena. Our member of parliament, Dhaireshil Mane, who is from Hatkalangi, which is Kolhapur, was also saying that this would give so much livelihood to the people, the citizens of Kolhapur, which is one way of viewing it. Now, would you want to spend 1 lakh plus on a pair of Kolhapuri chappals? That is your choice. But my only limited submission is, whether it's Prada or any other international designers, the attribution to the cultural origins of the product, like a Make in India, made in Kolhapur, etc., is something that we will definitely champion as a cause. And to collaborate various communities is also a must, because when you develop ethical guidelines, so to speak, which are ethnic in origin or traditional in designs, I think we need to talk about a cultural sustainability, which has been the need of the hour, and a lot of designers have been championing the cause of cultural sustainability, but at the same time, a fair compensation to the artisan. I mean, can you imagine that we make it for 300, 500 rupees and they just embellish it and sell it at $1 lakh plus? So I'm sure there'll be lots of legal experts who can intervene in this particular case, educate both the designers as well as the consumers, and keep in mind that there is a cultural sentiment, a cultural heritage, because you're right, in your initial opening, what you said about the Kolhapuri chappal and the artisans who are based out of there, the finesse with which
and
they
have seen
created and emerged into a brand in the 20th century.
The Dior shararas that we know about, Mayank, you have a different view on this. Why do you see this as appreciation of Kolhapuris, not really appropriation, and some kind of stealing of idea of the artisans?
So first, I think it's very important to acknowledge that whatever Miuccia Prada, who is the designer and the creative director of Prada, whatever she does is instantly considered cool. So if she's looked at Indian Kolhapuri chappals and thought, oh, they're very interesting footwear, and decided to make an interpretation or rip off the design and put those in her collection, I think she's ready to make it cool again. And whatever Prada decides is considered cool. And I think the whole brouhaha about the price tag is having a very, how Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake moment. So 1 lakh is too cheap for a Prada footwear. So I think Prada is, in a way, they should give the credit to the Indian artisans and where it's coming from. But also it is sort of putting Indian footwear on global map, which is fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tara Deshpande, that's a view of a stylist, and he is a fashion designer himself. So I think that's an alternate view. Perhaps we should consider that as well.
The GI tag that applies to the Kolhapuri chappal specifies that in order to call it a Kolhapuri chappal, it has to be produced in 6 or 7 districts which lie in Maharashtra as well as in Karnataka. If they are produced outside, you can't call it Kolhapuri. And they specify certain specific aspects to the design. So it's not just where it's produced, but it's also in part the design. Now, the problem that arises is that if it is produced outside of Kolhapur, even within India, which it is, but it is not called the Kolhapuri chappal, that is perfectly acceptable. The second issue here is that we have not copyrighted, trademarked, or positioned the design as intellectual property. So therefore, there is no legal protection for this particular kind of design. Now, Prada makes its footwear all over the world. Initially, when it started, made in Italy was the only label it had. But now it's making stuff in Vietnam, it's making stuff in Cambodia, and it puts there made in Italy, made in Vietnam, or made in Cambodia. Now, if they had come to these 7 districts and tried to cut a deal, maybe they would have made a deal and they could have said made in India. And if they weren't unable to cut a deal, they would say, we won't call it Kolhapuri, we'll just call it a sandal. They're not even calling it a chappal, which is a very Indian word. So the issue here is that we should learn from this, where mojaris are concerned, where juttis are concerned, where the Jodhpur pant is concerned. These have no GI tags right now, and they are not the property is not intellectually protected whatsoever. So before this happens, this is a good wake-up call to take these very popular items and sort of cushion them a little bit with legal protections and with GI tags. But that being said, we also have to understand that there are designs that the Americans came up with, many years ago, like jeans that everybody is making today. The Chinese collar, just as our Band Gala and our Nehru jackets have been copied the world over. We've also, we make Chinese collars here all the time, but we don't regard it as appropriation. So I think that a lot of this has to do with how we look at things right now.
So, Mayank, just do a quick recap for our viewers. how does it actually play out in the sense that when it is about an appropriation of this nature by something which is very culturally rooted in other countries, do they make this about an IP case, or do they just see this as their product arriving at a global stage?
You know, fashion is fluid. Like any artistic medium, it's fluid. And there's a very thin line between inspiration and ripping off something. And we, Indian designers have, we've been constantly inspired by European fashion or American fashion or Italian fashion. And so have they. It's very fluid. Chanel did this beautiful show back in 2011 where Karl Lagerfeld was there, called this Paris-Bombay collection. It was, I think, the most beautiful representation of the East meets West. I think we have to look at it in a way, yes, respect the artisans, respect the craft and the craft community, give them the credit, but also what a brilliant cocktail of two cultures coming together, two style statements coming together.
That's actually very well put. So, Shaina NC, could it have been, Prada, Kolhapur coming together? Perhaps more acceptable way, saying it Paris to Kolhapur, Kolhapur to Paris.
So I think, Maria, that happens is with a couple of ways. Firstly, if we educate the designers, obviously the consumer will also be educated and the cultural heritage that we all talk about comes out. But I think what's most important is to have that kind of a tag which says Made in India, which is something that the Prime Minister has always espoused and said that, make in India, made in India, etc. So that would be priority, and then get into the nitty-gritty of how the artisan is compensated. And I hope that in this particular case, the artisans do get their credit and their worth, because it's great to have international designers. I mean, if we didn't have a Prada, we wouldn't even be discussing Kolhapuri chappals today, because how else would it have reached the international platform? And as I said in my opening, I'm glad that the West seeks inspiration from the East, and India particularly, as we set the trends world over, especially in this particular case.
The credit has to be given as well, Shaina, and the credit seems to be missing here.
Yes, that's
exactly what I said.
They called it
leather sandals rather than
credit needs to be given. Yes, so that is something that the Indian government, and I'm sure lots of us, will champion that cause completely, because that's something that I think that irrespective needs to be fought on, because this is not just your product. You've aped, or rather you've sought inspiration and created it in our country, so we must get our due. And that's something that I think will happen organically. But how cool is it to see Kolhapuri chappals all over the world? How cool is it to see yoga all over the world? How cool is it to see India shining all over the world? That's the biggest takeaway.
Okay, Tara Deshpande, do you think we have to move beyond, emotional reaction to a situation such as this and make it more legal, make it about artisans and fighting for the artisans? There has to be a campaign or perhaps a movement.
Well, because, it's Indian and we are attached to it. I mean, if you grew up in Maharashtra, you wore these chappals all the time.
No, we wear
so
it
you
even
do
in
feel
Delhi.
a sense of proud. Okay.
Tara, we wear it even in Delhi.
Are they called Kolhapuri then or just slippers?
No, it is called Kolhapuris only.
It's called. So that means they're coming from Kolhapur and from these 8 districts, because I know this design is made all over India and it's not necessarily sold as a Kolhapuri chappal. But I do believe that, if there had been an understanding between Prada and the artisans of these 6 or 7 districts, I think it would have been really, maybe something wonderful would have come of it. They would have benefited directly. But that hasn't happened, and I think it's a good idea to now start looking at all our indigenous designs and figuring out how they can be protected and what we would expect if somebody as big as Prada decided to reproduce them.
All right, Tara Deshpande and Shaina NC, really
or
appreciate
Maria,
your
even
time.
how they should be promoted.
Yes.
How they should be promoted world over.
Yes. So
like, we waited for a Zandra Rhodes and a Sherry Blair to wear a sari Just very short, Maria, we used to wait for a Sherry Blair, a Jemima Khan, a Liz Hurley to wear a sari and say, wow, I think the time has come for India to do it also. Why do we need international designers? We should take India
Absolutely.
abroad.
I mean, we should all be wearing Kolhapuris and celebrating it. And even when, those who travel abroad, become your own brand ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us. Shaina NC and Tara Deshpande. That's all from me on this edition of The Last Word. And Vishnu is right here in the studio. And Vishnu, do you have a pair of Kolhapuri?
I do indeed. And I was just about to say the best way with the kurta pajama is Kolhapuri chappals, because they are just so comfortable and just so perfect. And no, I didn't buy it from Prada or Chanel or wherever else you would, I suspect, buy it from. Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shov on the program today. It is an exciting day for those enthusiasts on the Indian space program. I'm one of them, and I must admit the choice of topic for me was quite easy. That's because we've got Shubhanshu Shukla, India's astronaut, up in the space station. That's him over there. That's him over there as well. And that's just great news, isn't it? Because we've got our space ambitions. We've got so much to hope for. We've got Gaganyaan, our own crewed mission that comes up in 2028. But today was a great moment when the four from the Crew Dragon craft finally emerged after it docked with the International Space Station. Shubhanshu Shukla is going to be there for 14 days with the rest of his crew. The experience that he gains will be invaluable. He will, of course, be telling other members of the Gaganyaan team what that's going to be all about. Now, he may not be flying on that Gaganyaan mission, chances are he won't, but it's a great occasion for an Indian. Remember, it's been 41 years since we've had an Indian on a space station. The last one, Rakesh Sharma, on the Soviet space station, Mir, 41 years back. So absolutely incredible. What we can do is give you this story on the incredible developments today.
हम लॉन्च कर रहे थे तो मेरे स्पेस सूट पे तिरंगा मेरे शोल्डर्स पे था.
Floating into the space station, stepping into history and legend. Air Force pilot Shubhanshu Shukla wrote a historic new chapter in the country's space exploration story as he became the first Indian to float into the International Space Station. Gleaming with big smiles, Shubhanshu and his team of 4 astronauts entered the space station at about 6 p.m. Indian time after a 28-hour journey into space. Axiom-4's journey began at 12:01 p.m. on Wednesday, when SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket blasted off from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in the United States. The 4-member crew were greeted by the existing 7-member crew at the International Space Station with big smiles, hugs, and welcome drinks.
So I am number 634. That's a privilege. No, but to be fair, it is a privilege to be amongst the few who have got the chance to see the Earth from a vantage point that I have been able to see now. It has been a wonderful ride. It has been great, and I was looking forward to come to space. It is something to look forward to as such. But the minute I entered the International Space Station and you guys, this crew, you just made me feel so welcome, as if you literally opened your doors, like your house doors for us. That's true. So, but it was fantastic. I feel even better. Whatever expectation I had of coming here, they were surpassed by the view. Of course, that's the big part of it, but by you guys as well. So thank you so much. I think this was fantastic. This is wonderful, and I'm very, very confident that the next 14 days are going to be amazing, doing, as you said, advancing science and research and working together. Thank you so much.
The 4 then lined up for a photo op, drinking liquids from a foil packet. Together, they all now make the Space 11 at the International Space Station. Earlier in the day, the capsule carrying the 4 astronauts docked at the space station at about 4 p.m. The fascinating process of docking and the crew entering the space station was beamed live across the world. Shukla's proud parents watched their son write history with tears in their eyes, prayers on their lips, and pride in their heart.
अब ये अंदर चले गए, अब कोई दिक्कत नहीं। क्या कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? अब कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, बेहद खुश है। अब 14 दिन बाद उनका इंतजार रहेगा वापसी का। 14 वापसी का इंतजार रहेगा कि जल्दी से आए, जल्दी से मिले आके हम लोगों से।
ये बहुत ही अहम पड़ाव था, उसके लिए उसने जो है अच्छी तरह उसने मेहनत करके जो भी सक्सेस प्राप्त की है, उसके लिए हम बहुत खुश हैं और बच्चे पर गर्व है, हमें पूरा अपने बच्चे पर गर्व है।
The International Space Station will now be Shukla & Co.'s home for the next 14 days, where they will conduct experiments before returning to Earth.
Astronaut Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla created history for India, becoming the first Indian to visit the International Space Station. After a long journey, he will now spend 14 days at the International Space Station, conducting several experiments. But this is really the beginning of the Indo-US partnership in space. Beyond this, coming up is the NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar Satellite, the world's single most expensive Earth imaging satellite ever made. India and America exploring space together. And Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla lays the first firm steps for India's Gaganyaan program. With Vishnu Som in New Delhi, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.
All right, so Pallav with me. Pallav, we can all breathe.
Yes, we can, finally.
It's been several weeks,
yes.
3 weeks plus of delays. Then the mission went up and it worked after it blasted off. It was all flawless and so far it seems good. What is Shubhanshu Shukla going to be doing on the International Space Station?
Right now he must be sleeping. His first night at the International Space Station to enjoy a sleep more than in the Crew Dragon. It would be an outstanding feeling to do that in microgravity. Not easy.
Yeah.
He was not feeling well. He also said that he was having a heavy head, which is normal. Space sickness is normal, but they settle down. He has a flight surgeon or a doctor attached to him, Dr. Punnaslok Biswal. He will take care of him. But now the heavy load and work begins.
Yeah.
They have over a 12.5-hour schedule for every day where every minute is chalked out. And he will be doing 7 India-specific experiments. They are fairly basic experiments. India is doing astrobiology for the first time, so we couldn't have expected very complicated ones. He's also going to be doing 5 human biology experiments which are NASA-ISRO specific. The details of that have not been revealed at all.
Why?
I do not know why, but they have not been revealed. That's going to be done between NASA and ISRO. There are 2 outreach events and 1 talk with a VIP. I leave that to you. For you to guess.
For guessing
no
who
prizes
that is.
for guessing.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a packed 14-day. He will have to spend time. His body clock has been adjusted to what is called London time or Greenwich Mean Time, because the space station works with that.
I see.
All of them. Countries have decided they will work with Greenwich Mean Time. So his body clock in the quarantine itself was adjusted to that. And now really the hard work begins. But this is really the first step for India's Gaganyaan program, because he's going to bring back experience which will contribute to India's massive leap in space, which is to send an Indian from India. So he's learning, and he said these are the first firm steps for India's Gaganyaan. He's very young, he's 39. He's going to be bringing back lots of wisdom. Alongside, India did send Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan Nair. He's as a backup. He's 9 years older. It was the oldest of the lot of the 4. So India chose correctly the oldest and the youngest. He was the backup. The youngest will give a lot of things, and Prashant Balakrishnan Nair also must have imbibed and soaked in everything. All of that will contribute to our human space flight program. End of the day, India wants to be ready if there is ever a need for humans to leave Earth and colonize someplace. India should never be left behind.
Who will India's Gaganyatris be on Gaganyaan? Will it be Shubhanshu Shukla?
No,
given
see,
his experience, how does that process
see,
go?
it's a very tricky process. Being an astronaut is a very risky business. Group Captain Shukla has become an astronaut in less than 4 years after selection. Mostly astronauts spend about 8 to 10 years on Earth before they become astronauts and before they are able to fly. So within a year of getting his wings, he has become an astronaut. So on the Gaganyaan program, it could be one of these 4. It has to be one of these 4 because they have been trained, they are test pilots. All countries, whenever they do first-time vehicle, they send test pilots because they have the skills of navigating and managing issues if they happen. So it will be one of them. It could be any, it could be Angad, it could be Krish, it could be Prashant Balakrishnan Nair, it could be Group Captain Shukla. Who could be, I'm sure at that time when we choose, it would be the right person.
It's just basic question. Gaganyaan first mission, is it just one astronaut?
Right now, what India has said, the capsule which is being developed for Gaganyaan can carry up to 3 astronauts. So India has said we'll send up to 3 astronauts for up to 1 week. That is the plan. But my own instinct is it could be 1 or 2. And it could be well for 3 days because you don't want to take a risk, but you don't want to send a single person also because you need a buddy. So it could be 1 or 2 because the more people you have in the experimental vehicle, the higher the risk, but you need also a buddy. So this is just the beginning. Gaganyaan, as of now, the plan is in 2027 to have the first human space flight from Sriharikota. And then the plan is to have another crewed flight. And then the Bharatiya Antariksh Station is likely to come up. So there will be to and fro traffic and then Indian on the moon. See, when Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma went up, it was a one-off mission. So Group Captain Ravish Malhotra never got a chance. Whereas right now, there are 4 candidates. They all have a chance to become astronauts sooner than later.
Yeah, if not in the first, then subsequent missions.
Yes, because it's now a full program and it's going to continue for many years. And that's definite. So they will get an opportunity and they're already starting the process of selecting a fresh crop of astronauts. And that could be non-test pilots because by then you would have matured.
Should I apply?
Oh, you should, I'm sure.
All right, we'll leave it over there. Pallav and I might be headed to space at some stage or the other, be that as it may. We did have some wonderful conversations throughout the day with extraordinary astronauts. Let's take a look. So, a fantastic day for so many people in India looking at the Indian space program and its future. We've got our first astronaut in an international space station in 41 years. The last time around, Rakesh Sharma was on Mir, the Soviet space station, all those decades back. Joining us now, Clayton Anderson and Dr. Ayman Jahangir. Thank you both very much for being with us. Clayton Anderson, in the context of India, a nation which has distinct space aspirations, just getting an astronaut on board the International Space Station, how do you see this to be important?
Well, having international participation in space is incredibly important. Shubhanshu, congratulations to him and congratulations to the nation of India for being able to successfully place him into orbit on the International Space Station. I'm extremely jealous and envious of the entire crew, not just Shubhanshu. But this is a big deal. And in order for the Earth to move away, or for humans to move away from the Earth and perhaps go to Mars, I think it will be a very international effort, a collaboration effort, if you will. The United States simply can't do it on its own. So congratulations to ISRO and all the folks in India.
Right. Dr. Jahangir, what we do know is that Shubhanshu Shukla had a touch of space sickness. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's actually quite common for astronauts when they get into orbit to have a little space sickness, which is feeling a little nauseated and maybe even vomiting. Typically, it lasts about 3 days, and the reason it occurs is because what your eyes are seeing is different than what your inner ear is telling you. So here on gravity, which is what humans know and where we live, it all works well together. But when you get to space, that can be a little a little unusual for your body to adjust to. So it's not surprising, especially someone like Captain Shukla, who is an Air Force pilot who has lots and lots of experience flying. It's not uncommon. So I'm not surprised that happened, but he will be feeling better, I'm sure, pretty quickly.
But how do you fix that? Or it just goes away?
So there are yeah, it does just go away after a couple of days. Your body readjusts, but there are medications that astronauts do take when they get into space that can help. Just like if you were to get motion sickness on a boat, same kind of idea.
You know, Mr. Anderson, one of the most amazing parts of what we saw today was the high-resolution footage every moment of Crew Dragon coming in and then docking with the International Space Station. That's something that's completely changed the entire space experience, hasn't it, for people around the world? Perhaps will add to enthusiasm for watchers around the world who would otherwise have thought space as being, it's been there, it's been happening for a while, been there, done that in a sense, but it adds a new dimension, I would suggest.
It does. And first, let me tell Shubhanshu that motion sickness and all that will go away. And I feel his pain. But with respect to the technology on board, in 2007, our cameras were nowhere near as good. Our video wasn't even high definition, which is why you don't see any much video from me in my time in space, because it was all low definition. I actually did the first high definition footage.
Oh, how interesting.
In 15 and 16. So, and the other cool thing for these guys is they're there during a solar maximum period, a high activity of solar particles and stuff hitting the magnetic field of the Earth. So they're getting to see beautiful auroras. They get to capture them with high definition video. They're taking pictures with cameras with much better lenses, with much higher pixels in the camera. I mean, it's very cool, and people do respond to that. It's bringing it home to the people of India, to the people of the United States. That's how you get support for your space program. That's how you're able to move forward and do more things.
Dr. Jahangir, are you enthusiastic about India's own space program? Because what we've got coming up in 2028 and is an entirely homegrown effort at getting an astronaut into space on an Indian rocket, on an Indian orbiter. That's a huge jump technology-wise, but they seem to be set to do it, and the tests seem to be progressing well.
I will say, you have to remember that only 3 countries in the world to date have had their own homegrown program. So for India to do it, which they're doing within the next 5 to 10 years, even talking about having a space station, is incredible. ISRO is making great strides. And Captain Shukla being up on the space station with this 2-week mission is going to gain a lot of experience of what it means to actually be in space, that he can then bring back and inform the people of India and inform the scientists and engineers at ISRO as about how to make both the spacecraft and the space station, more useful and beneficial for everyone. So this is vastly important. It is a 2-week mission. It's not a 6-month mission, but even in those 2 weeks, that experience that Captain Shukla is going to have is going to be immensely important for India going forward in their own program.
Mr. Addison, the status of India's Gaganyaan program, that's what we call our crewed mission. It is at a fairly advanced stage. We've got the rocket. We've made lots of progress in rocketry. It'll be a variation of the GSLV rocket. We've already done one pad abort test. They want to do another test at a higher altitude, and they are working at habitability of the capsule itself. And then they've got ambitions for a space station in 2035. And they seem to be getting there. Is there almost a sense of disbelief among people who you speak to that, is India really doing this? And are they doing this at the cost at which they claim to be doing this? Because it's extremely expensive, besides being extremely difficult.
Well, Astro Clay talks about the 3 Ds of spaceflight, right? It's dangerous, it's difficult, and it costs dollars. And those are always something we need to keep in mind. Being safe, doing this safely is important. We've done it before. We did it back in the 60s in America. We're doing it again now, but we're doing it with better technology, which hopefully makes all of this safer for everyone. I would caution ISRO to just move forward slowly, carefully, smartly, and do the tests that are required to prove that it's going to be safe, because if something bad happens to Elon, to Blue Origin, to ISRO, to any of these countries trying to launch humans into space, we run the risk of setting things way back, right? And that's what we don't want to have. We want to be safe going forward. We want to be smart because it is dangerous, it's difficult, and it costs a lot of dollars.
All right, great speaking to both of you. Thanks very much for being with us and sharing your thoughts on, on the Indian space program, Shubhanshu, Shukla, at the International Space Station, and a lot more. Thank you very much indeed.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh,
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
There have been 4 alerts which have been sounded off here. In fact, what we can confirm is that one missile did hit a residential building in Beersheba. As I speak,
Joining us at this stage, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the American astrophysicist and writer. Mr. Tyson, thanks so much for being with us. We are
congratulations.
We are an emotional people, we Indians, and we get a bit emotional, sometimes too emotional. But it is a big moment. It's a moment of pride to see one of our countrymen up at the International Space Station. It's taken far too long. You know about our space ambitions. So could you reflect on what this means for a country with a developing space program?
Yeah, I can tell you without hesitation that an astronaut representing a country, upon returning to the country, is a hero. Let's just put it out there. They're a hero. People will line up to take photos with them, and it's the way I joke about it, and I say, no one has ever given a parade for a robot, okay? But we do it for people. When one of our own does something heroic, is on an adventure and comes back to talk about it, that's important. And so another way to think about this, we should all look forward to the day where this is no longer interesting because it's happening so often. And when you reach that point, then you can truly declare yourselves to be a spacefaring nation, where it's just, I got another mission going up this week. Cool. We'll find out when they get back, what they've been up to. And I want to say something quick about these images we've been seeing. Yep. I just want to remind you, everyone in that scene is weightless.
Yep.
So they could have had fun and had one of them completely upside down, alternating, and they would feel no different. So they all lined up just for the camera. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
There is no up or down when you are weightless in orbit around the Earth.
You know, I think it's people around the world would have seen images and videos like this for so many years, and the quality of the video just keeps getting better. But I think, Mr. Tyson, the point which I'd like you to reflect on is the fact that there's nothing ordinary or easy or simple about human beings being in space, right? It is incredibly difficult. It was in the 60s, and it is now.
Yeah, so I cannot overstate the fact that at the end of the day, yes, it is rocket science. And the number of scientists and engineers and administrators and way back in there, the funding streams, all of this has to work. And when it doesn't work, it puts lives at risk. And so, fortunately, we've had many steps tested and retested, which has reduced the risk, but the risk is not zero. And astronauts have died, not only on the launch pad, but in space. And so, yes, we should never take any of this for granted. And there's the saying that we say in the United States, maybe other countries say it too. We say Godspeed to the astronauts. And, the very word goodbye came from a time that's a contraction of God be with you when you left the city walls. And it was very dangerous moving between the cities. So you looked for divine protection where it was most dangerous. Well, when our first astronaut, John Glenn, was in space, 1962, the headline was Godspeed, John Glenn. A dangerous thing to be traveling that fast on an adventure hardly tested by anyone. And so, yes, this emotion is still with us when we see our astronaut heroes take these voyages.
Dr. Neil, this is Pallav Bagla from the NDTV office. Welcome to the broadcast. There were many Godspeed moments for this mission. While they were still on the ground, there were several delays. And when astronaut Peggy Whitson came into the International Space Station, she spoke about the long quarantine. We had several issues. And then as the mission was lifting up, we also had two anxious moments with a fiber in the hatch and then the wind file not uploading. What do you have to say for that? These were very anxious moments for this particular mission, and a 30-day quarantine? Is that the longest you've ever heard of?
Maybe, but I mean, they're all professional. Remember that. So, and I'd rather, delay the mission than take the risk of not having it ever succeed. So we can be frustrated. What's the delay? Wait, fix the delay. No, take your time fixing the delay, because I don't want to raise the risk of harm that is already inherent in the entire operation. So yes, I think you were very close to this mission, and every little step. Every mission has little things that go wrong. Fortunately, much of the system, and thanks to engineers, have redundancies built in, so that if something goes wrong, there's a backup. Or if this goes wrong, we'll do without that for now, and maybe for the rest of the mission, we'll just compensate in other ways. So well-designed, risky missions will always have these backup scenarios, always in the interest of protecting human life.
Dr. Neil, in November, we complete 25 years of continuous human presence at the International Space Station. How exciting is that? And one more follow-up question for you. In 25 years, we've invested billions of dollars of taxpayer money on the International Space Station. Which is 1, 2, or 3 blockbuster research which has emerged from the space station?
Well, so I think the way you need to think about it, well, of the many ways to think about this, for me, the most important is not listing the achievements or the scientific research and the results that come from it. You could do that. But I think there are other forces operating. For example, just the national pride of each country that has an astronaut represented on the space station. If I read correctly, each of the Polish astronaut, the Hungarian astronaut, and of course the Indian astronaut is their first time to the space station. And this is very important in the countries for which they are represented. And what I'm getting at is, that space exploration and launches and landings and space stations requires fluency in science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields. If you're a kid wanting to know what should I do when I grow up, and you see this happening in space, it is a force of inspiration that rivals a force of nature unto itself, driving interest in the STEM fields. And the STEM fields are the engines of the future growth economies of the world. So an impact can be measured by other ways beyond just a checklist of activities that have been conducted. You can try to measure the force it has on a culture and on civilization. And I'll tell you this as well, that it's the STEM fields that stand the greatest chance of lifting a nation out of poverty, because this is where economies are born. This is where high-tech industries, quality jobs arrive. And so when I think of space, I see it as a force of inspiration, not as a checklist to see what did you accomplish today.
Dr. Neil, India has a program going up to 2040 for which the government has invested a huge amount of money, which is to land an Indian on the moon by 2040. So the roadmap is quite clear for India. For you, sitting from your perch, that India will soon have its own human space program, an Indian space station, and land an Indian on the moon, and be a developed country by 2047. Does that sound good and exciting to you?
It's always good to have the goals. When President Kennedy said, we will land a man on the moon before the decade is out, we felt that we said, we don't want to make a liar out of him. Let's go ahead and do this. And by the way, I want to add to what you said. So it's not just an Indian space station and an Indian landing on the moon. You hinted at it, but I want to drive home. Part of that goal is that it's completely top to bottom Indian-produced technologies. And so it's no longer a commercial venture from another country. It wouldn't be SpaceX or NASA. So you'd be doing it on your own, and that is another source of pride that I know we had when we were going into space, we, the United States. So I wish India well. I wish them luck. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck as well, but it's less luck and more brilliance in the scientists and engineers that are attempting to make that happen.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, wonderful speaking to you, and I agree entirely. It is Indian engineering at the end of the day, which really has to come of age. In many senses it has, but as you push the boundaries even further, there's a lot more to achieve, and I think we're really making a lot of progress there.
सज गया है मंच, शिरकत करेंगे जाने माने कलाकार। NDTV का क्रिएटर्स मंच है आपके लिए तैयार। शामिल होंगे लेजेंडरी राइटर जावेद अख्तर, अपनी कविताओं से युवाओं के दिलों पर राज करने वाले कवि कुमार विश्वास, समय से परे की फिल्म बनाने वाले डायरेक्टर इम्तियाज अली और बेस्ट सेलिंग राइटर चेतन भगत। यहाँ फन और एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा, साहित्य से नई रचनाएं, नई सोच, नया मंच। NDTV लाया है आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स मंच। आप भी जुड़ें NDTV नेटवर्क पर।
The last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Genzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have two
credible credit rating agencies on March 4th coming and downgrading the stock to D.
Statements are consistently being proven wrong, and transactions are being taken place which are different from what they were originally pictured to be.
The company claimed it would roll out 6,400 electric vehicles. But what it has rolled out is a shocking scam. Funds meant for the project were funneled allegedly back to the promoters, the Jaggi brothers. What did the money buy? Not EVs, of course, but a lavish flat in Gurgaon's luxurious DLF Carmelias.
भावनाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता हुआ कवि, एक पेंटिंग बनाता हुआ चित्रकार, सुरीले राग गाता हुआ एक गायक और फिल्म के रूप में दुनिया की हकीकत दिखाता हुआ एक फिल्मकार। सब चाहते हैं कि उन्हें एक मंच मिले जहां से उनकी उड़ान को दुनिया पहचान सके। एनडीटीवी क्रिएटर्स मंच एक ऐसा ही मंच है। आइए इस मचान पर स्वागत है एक
West Asia, it appears, might be coming to an end, but it appears that the ceasefire between Israel and Iran is extremely tenuous and the overall terms of the agreement are still unclear. The impact of this has been lingering not just for millions of people across the region, but also potentially for economic reasons and on economic grounds. It's one of two major wars or major conflicts which persist across the world. Martin Wolf is one of the finest economists in the world in terms of his thinking on economic ideas. I've had the privilege of speaking to him a couple of times in the last few years, and he's here in New Delhi, which is all the more reason to speak to him now. Thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
It's a difficult situation around the world in the Middle East, and who knows what's going to finally happen. If things don't resolve, what is the potential economic impact in terms of oil flows?
Well, the first thing to stress is I don't know, and we really don't know. This is an incredibly uncertain situation. At the moment, with what's happened so far as I can see, the impact is going to be quite modest, well within the range of the sort of mild turbulence we get in energy markets, and certainly not of huge global significance. It's important to remember the oil economy isn't as important as it used to be 50 years ago or so during the first and second oil shocks, so it shouldn't matter that much unless the shock to prices is enormous. So the question ultimately, and actually I wrote about this in a column published immediately after the terrorist assault from Hamas in Israel a couple of years ago, a bit less, that it depends exactly on what you're talking about. Could it spread to the Gulf? Could it mean real attacks on oil fields, and particularly the closure of the Straits of Hormuz, through which an enormous proportion of the world's oil, about 30% or so, goes? At the moment, it seems very clear that everybody's aware of the risk. The US is imposing a lot of pressure to prevent that happening. Yeah. It's been, I think, pretty clear to Iran that if it did this, it would attract the ire of all the world's powers. The Chinese will be immensely upset. Obviously, the Gulf states will be upset. The Americans will be furious. So I think the Iranians are being very careful not to do that. The Israelis certainly don't want to be blamed for this. So strangely for me, I'm actually relatively optimistic that it will be contained short of that. But I would always stress one can never be sure.
Just in terms of the broader situation between Israel and Iran, how do you assess where this has gone? Has anybody won or has anybody lost?
Well, first of all, I'm not an expert in geopolitics, and I always stress this. I have colleagues who are, and I do the geoeconomics, so I've discussed this. I think that the Israeli view would be that they have, in the short run, won in the sense that they penetrated Iran's defenses. They've degraded them significantly. They have killed a great number of people they regard as mortal enemies, and they have weakened Iran's medium-term
position, not just short term, in terms of its ability to obtain nuclear weapons. So they, I think, will feel very strongly, certainly Bibi Netanyahu will feel this has been a success. And if you look at it in the wider context, a couple of years ago, they seemed to be surrounded by Iran's proxies, very strong position in Syria, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and that all seems to have gone away. So from Israel's point of view, the military actions are bound to look successful. The Americans too will probably be quite happy with the claim, though it's challenged even by their own intelligence operations, that they have damaged, if not destroyed, at least much of Iran's nuclear potential. But is this an enduring outcome? Very unlikely. Iran is still there. Iran is probably even more determined. I see no obvious reason to suspect that the regime will collapse. It seems far more likely that the Revolutionary Guard will become the dominant element. That could go on for decades. Will they try to get another rebuild the nuclear program? I would guess yes, because they will see that's the way to be secure. Will that lead to more confrontations with Israel and the US? Quite likely. So I suspect it's in no way definitive. While Israel and the US have sort of got their short-term aims, at least Israel has, this is not going to resolve this conflict, which requires a general peace in the Middle East, which does look further away than ever.
Some would suggest that a peaceful solution to Russia and Ukraine is perhaps nowhere in sight either at this stage. That has a profound economic impact in so many levels. The price of food grain, for example, which was coming out of Ukraine, that continues to be impacted. Another strand for us in India, which is important, of course, is fuel flows. We continue to import oil from Russia, and our foreign minister always gets asked that, look, why are you doing this? And Russia is the aggressor. But he keeps on pressing home the one point that, look, we have to think about India first. We have a huge population, a huge set of requirements in terms of energy. Is that an argument that is increasingly accepted?
Well, I think at least, even if it's not accepted, and I remember appearing on a television program in India shortly after the initial war, if it's not accepted, it's tolerated. The Western powers have recognized from the beginning that India has its own interests. It's an extremely important player strategically, including for the West, and they don't want a confrontation over this. So it's accepted. And this is even more obvious now when the US and the Europeans are really, to some degree, at loggerheads. The US doesn't have any clear strategy towards the resolution of this war. Trump's boast that he would settle it within the first day is obviously proven, as we expected, to be absurd. I don't know what they're trying to do there. The Europeans want to sustain Ukraine. Will that work? How will the war resolve itself? We don't know the answers to any of these questions. So India can, I think, be perfectly comfortable pursuing the policy it is. But my suspicion is that the war will continue without a resolution. Russia isn't going to win in the sense of collapsing Ukraine completely. At the same time, Ukraine has no chance of defeating Russia. How could it? It's just a horrible running sore and a tragedy for the people of Ukraine. But I think it looks to me as though, as it were, the geopolitical significance, the points you made, isn't going to get any worse. I can't see why it was. Now, the terrible truth about the world that we live in is we can live with ongoing wars in which lots of people are killed because we can live with them. And that's increasingly what both these conflicts look like to me, though the Iran-Israel one is more sensitive because the oil flows are more sensitive. So the outcome is, it seems to be just another of these ongoing conflicts, which we tend not to think about very much. Look at Sudan.
No, I know. It's a huge problem over there. I wanted to ask you a little bit about trade equations between America and the rest of the world. Obviously, there's a great deal of pressure. America is dealing with different countries. Some would suggest in different ways. There's this particular equation with China and talks in one direction. Talks with India as well. Do you believe that there will be a comprehensive India-US trade deal which would potentially resolve some of the concerns which primarily America seems to have?
Well, first of all, I think the American trade policy that is now being pursued is ludicrous, intellectually insupportable, and it will not achieve the result it wants, which is a massive reduction in all its external deficits, both bilateral and overall, because that's an intellectual error. It's not due to trade policy, it's due to macroeconomic imbalances, which I've discussed in recent columns, and Mr. Trump simply doesn't get this. It is so in some fundamental way, this trade policy will fail to achieve its objectives, and it's certainly not going to reindustrialize America. It might increase employment in manufacturing in America by a couple of percentage points. It will still continue to decline. So it's really nonsense. And one must add, it's completely illegal under the World Trade Organization rules, so it's behaving like a rogue power. Now, given that, and India must deal with the realities, it does seem to me more likely that they will reach a good deal with India than pretty well anywhere else, except they've got a pretty good deal with the UK.
That's true.
And that Mr. Trump takes these things very personally. He rather likes the UK. He likes the UK royal family. He's a bit snobbish about that. And he obviously likes Mr. Modi and regards India as a friendly country. And he would like to reach a deal. And the Americans don't, at least at the moment, really worry about Indian competition and competitiveness. They don't think of India as anything like China. And of course, 10 years from now, I've said this before, 10 or 20 years from now, they may, if India is successful, view it very differently. But now they look at it favorably. So I assume there will be a deal. I have no idea what sort of deal it will be, but I imagine it will be an agreement which allows relatively liberal trade on both sides, creates some opportunities for India vis-a-vis other countries, because clearly the barriers to exports from China will be higher. That will be very friendly. Maybe even the barriers to Vietnam will be higher. So this could be an important opportunity for India. But I should qualify, there's a history here. Mr. Trump has reached deals before. In his first term, he reached a very good deal, he himself said, with Mexico and Canada. And the first thing he did this time is blow it up. So you can't trust it. And that's important, because in trade policy, you want the deal to be so secure that business will invest large amounts of money to exploit the opportunities. And it's unlikely that most businesses will feel that is really secure, because Mr. Trump can withdraw what he has delivered. He doesn't worry very much about what he's signed because he lives in the day.
That's true. You briefly mentioned Europe and America. I was at the Munich Security Conference where America, essentially J.D. Vance, pulled the rug under the feet of Europe, redefined the nature of NATO and the equation, the military equation between America and Europe. One of the big demands of the US president is that GDP spending or spending on defense as a percentage of GDP across Europe needs to go up substantially, that America will no longer necessarily protect Europe against Russia in quite the same way as it's done in the past. How is the UK, France, Italy, and let's say Germany placed? How are they placed in actually doing that? To the extent that America, as a military player in Europe, could actually see a reduced role?
Well, this is a huge question. First of all this has been quite clearly a huge shock to the Europeans. Not completely a surprise, but the extent of it was a surprise. The hostility, particularly from J.D. Vance, was certainly striking. We never expected him to come and basically support the extreme right. Many Europeans regard as neo-fascists, in my view, correctly. So that's all a big shock. And then we saw the extraordinary film of their confrontation with Mr. Zelensky in the White House. So these are huge shocks. Now they're working very hard to reach a new deal. The NATO meeting at the moment, very recently. And people are falling over themselves to say we're going to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP. I don't believe that will ever happen. It's higher than the US has. I think that's a fantasy. I don't know where the money will come from. But certainly people are aware that they are going to have to rely on themselves. They're going to have to build up their militaries. And the most striking case is Germany, which has basically scrapped its restriction on debt. It's going all out to borrow. And Germany is potentially the most powerful military entity for obvious reasons in size, economic development. And of course, it is important to stress, if we leave aside nuclear weapons, which, Russia has a gigantic arsenal which dates from Soviet days, which the Europeans will not match. But in other areas, if you look at the European economy, it's vastly bigger than the Russian economy, much more sophisticated. It should really be quite comfortable to match the conventional weaponry of Russia. If you look that Ukraine can hold the Russian army and it's killed vast numbers of Russians, I think the Europeans can feel plausibly confident that as long as the nuclear umbrella survives, and that's the key thing from America, the conventional forces can be balanced perfectly well by the Europeans in a few years. Sure. And I think the Europeans have sort of got that, and I expect it to happen. So if the Americans allow 4 or 5 years, this will work. But one should emphasize, and we had an article in the FT just today by Lloyd Austin, the former Secretary of Defense under Mr. Biden, former general. Yes. He said, it will be very inefficient for us all to go on our own. Yeah. The cooperation and using our complementary skills between the US and Europe is important for both of us, and we shouldn't give that up. Does Mr. Trump understand that? Does this administration understand that? That's a very big question. But basically, I think in conventional terms, over time, the Europeans can unquestionably achieve a reasonable balance against Russia.
A final question, since you are here in India, we have huge aspirations of becoming a developed nation by 2047. Some say that's unrealistic. The government says that no, one way or the other, it is going to happen. We have a huge demographic dividend, which is a good thing. We've got a young population. But I think the larger question is on whether we are optimally using that young population. And the reason I say so is because a young population has to be skilled and reskilled. The nature of the economy is changing. I won't ask you a hackneyed question on AI and growth. I will, however, ask you about the importance of reskilling to meet India's ambitions of becoming a developed nation.
Well, it's a very, very good question. So I delivered a lecture here based on an article I wrote for a book in honor of a very dear friend of mine, Shankaracharya. So so my answer to this, I do think it is plausible, nothing is certain, that by 1947 India will be a great power by any definition.
2047.
2047, sorry. What did I say? 1947. Sorry, I apologize. Slip of the tongue. 2047, it will be a superpower. I expect it to be very clearly the third largest economy in the world and a great power. That should happen, simply the combination of numbers with growth continuing at about the average, which is very much consistent of 6% a year or so, which India's had over the last 3 decades. That would not, in my calculations, there are a difference. What is a developed country? There are different definitions. In my definitions, that wouldn't really make India a developed nation. But that's a matter of division. It would be an upper middle income country, but it would be a considerably bigger economy and more sophisticated than today. So does it matter? It wouldn't be precisely a developed country as I define it? Not really. Now, the question you're asking is, well, 2 questions. One, can that be sustained? 6% a year for the next 20, 25 years? And what would... And the answer to that is, it is possible. India has always done a pretty poor job of skilling its population, but it still has got skilled, and there are so many Indians, and it is still so relatively poor that it seems to me, and there are so many more getting educated, that you will create in all probability, sufficiently more skilled people to drive that sort of growth from this starting point, still relatively low, for another 25 years. You don't have to do much better than you have done before, though you do have to keep on skilling people. Of course, if you do more than you've done before, and as you suggest, do really better in skilling your whole and reskilling your population, providing through your firms and through the government, really higher levels of education and continuous skilling, you could do even better. And I've always felt India could grow at 8% a year. And if that happened, you would definitely become developed. So, but 6% or so seems to me manageable with a continuation of the past performance, which obviously means that you continue to pull more and more women into the labor force, you got them more and more skilled, you extend education, high quality education throughout the whole labor force, and that would mean continued improvement.
Martin Wolf, wonderful to see you in Delhi, and thank you very much for joining us here on NDTV. Thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and
of Lord Gaganyaan amidst tight and unprecedented security. Watch every bit of the car festival with me, Manogya Loiwal, only on NDTV.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. You're watching the News Night and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. Today we are talking of a fascinating story. This is about the Iranian Supreme Leader who vanished. He vanished during a war. Remember this. There was not a whisper, there was not a photograph, not even a prayer. But then, suddenly after 9 days of global silence,